Hey everyone! Tonight we're stepping into the vast desert universe of Dune to uncover one of its most profound and ancient mysteries. The kind of secret that has been whispered about in the deepest reaches of the Fremen, where the spice flows. Like liquid time and legends are born from grains of sand that have witnessed the birth and death of civilizations. It's a story filled with cosmic revelations, forbidden knowledge, and truths that were buried beneath millennia of shifting dunes and imperial lies. So before we begin this journey together into the heart of Arrakis, take a moment to hit that like button if you're ready for tonight's desert adventure. And don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy these deep explorations into the hidden corners of beloved worlds. Drop a comment and let me know what part of the world you're listening from right now. I love seeing our global community come together under the twin moons of imagination. Now, get comfortable in your favorite spot, maybe dim those lights too. Match the eternal twilight of deep desert caves, and let's begin tonight's journey together into mysteries older than the Spacing Guild itself. Picture this, if you will. Deep beneath the endless dunes of Arrakis, in chambers that predate the first sandworm by thousands of years, something extraordinary was discovered. Dr. Ilana Vasquez, xenogeologist of the Imperial Survey Corps, stood in that impossible chamber 3 kilometers beneath the desert floor. Her headlamp cutting through darkness that had remained unbroken since before humans ever reached Arrakis. The walls around her pulsed with their own inner light, casting shadows that seemed to move independently. But it was what she held in her trembling hands that changed everything. A crystalline formation of pure spice, but not as it had ever been seen before. This wasn't the brown gold powder that powered space travel. This was spice in its primal form, translucent as desert glass, singing with frequencies that made her bones vibrate and her thoughts expand beyond the boundaries of her skull. The crystal wasn't just beautiful, it was alive. And as Alina stared into its swirling depths, she realized with growing terror and wonder that it was staring back at her. Ancient intelligence moved within those amber depths, older than the Imperium, older than humanity itself. Intelligence that had been waiting in the deep places of Arrakis for someone exactly like her to finally understand the truth. The spice didn't come from sandworms. Everything the galaxy believed about Melange was built on a lie so fundamental that discovering the truth would reshape human civilization itself. Elena's hands shook as she lifted her communicator. Base Camp, this is Survey Team 7. I need immediate extraction. We have discovered something that changes everything we know about spice, about Arrakis, about consciousness itself. The crystal pulsed brighter, and suddenly Elena could hear it, not with her ears, but with parts of her mind she never knew existed. It was trying to share a secret that had been waiting in the desert darkness for millennia. A secret about why spice truly existed, about what it was preparing humanity to become, about the cosmic purpose hidden beneath imperial bureaucracy and Fremen mysticism. But that revelation would have to wait, because at that moment, Elena heard something that made her blood freeze. The sound of sand moving far above, tons and tons of sand, and beneath that, something vast and ancient stirring in the deep places of Arrakis, awakened by her discovery. The planet itself was responding to her presence in this sacred chamber. Elena suddenly understood she had stumbled into something far more dangerous than archaeology. She had awakened something that had been sleeping beneath Arrakis for thousands of years, something connected to the true nature of spice, something that would either elevate humanity to cosmic consciousness or destroy them entirely. The crystals. Song grew louder in her mind, and Elena realized she was no longer just an imperial researcher. She had become the first human to make contact with the true intelligence behind the spice, the ancient consciousness that had been guiding human evolution from the shadows of deep space and deeper time. That consciousness had been waiting for her specifically, for reasons she was only beginning to understand. The greatest mystery in the known galaxy was about to unfold. And Elena had just become the key that would unlock secrets older than the stars themselves. But first, she had to survive what was coming up from the deep desert, drawn by the crystal's awakening song. The twin moons of Arrakis cast their pale light across the endless sea of dunes as Elena Vasquez emerged from the subsurface research facility, her mind still reeling from the discovery that would change everything. The crystal and spice formation remained locked in the secure containment unit back at base camp, but its song continued to resonate in her thoughts, a haunting melody that seemed to rewrite the very fabric of her understanding with each passing moment. 3 days had passed since that first contact with the living crystal, and Elena found herself unable to sleep, unable to eat, unable to focus on anything except the implications of what she had found. The Imperial Survey Corps had sent her to Arrakis to conduct routine geological surveys in preparation for expanded spice harvesting operations. What she had discovered instead was evidence that challenged the fundamental assumptions upon which the entire galactic economy was built. Standing beside her, on the observation deck of the mobile research station, was Nyla, a young Fremen woman who served as their desert guide and cultural liaison. Her blue within blue eyes, permanently stained by lifelong spice exposure, seemed to hold depths of knowledge that Elena was only beginning to appreciate. Nyla had been strangely quiet since Elena's discovery, spending long hours in meditation and speaking in hushed tones with the other Fremen members of their expedition team. Dr. Marcus Corvin, the Imperial xenobiologist assigned to their mission, paced restlessly across the deck, his academic excitement barely contained despite the potential ramifications of their discovery. He had spent the last 3 days running every test imaginable on samples from the crystal, each result more impossible than the last. The spice formation defied every known law of chemistry and physics, existing in a state that should have been impossible according to current Imperial science. Elena watched the sunrise paint the dunes in shades of gold and amber that reminded her uncomfortably of the crystal's inner light. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions, its seeming emptiness now revealed as a facade hiding secrets that went back to the very origins of consciousness itself. She had always thought of Arrakis as a harsh, lifeless world that happened to produce the galaxy's most valuable resource. Now she understood that the desert was alive in ways that human science had never imagined. Nyla finally broke her silence, her voice carrying the musical cadence that marked all Fremen speech. My grandmother's grandmother spoke of the deep songs, the voices that came from beneath the sand in the time before memory. The Reverend Mothers dismissed these stories as folklore, legends created to explain natural phenomena. But every Fremen child grows up hearing whispers of the time when the desert itself could speak. Elena turned to study her companion's weathered features, noting the way Nyla's expression had grown distant and contemplative. What did these stories say about the voices beneath the sand? They said that before the Great Vorms, before the spice cycle as we know it, there was another presence on Arrakis. Something that came from the deep dark between stars, something that chose our world as its home for reasons we could not understand. The stories spoke of crystalline gardens hidden beneath the dunes, places where consciousness itself took physical form and waited for the right moment to reveal itself to those who could comprehend its purpose. Dr. Corvin stopped his pacing and joined their conversation, his scientific skepticism warring with the evidence he had been analyzing for 3 days. The molecular structure of your crystal sample is unlike anything in our databases. It exhibits properties that suggest a form of crystallized consciousness, neural pathways made of pure spice that can process information and respond to external stimuli. If the Fremen legends are accurate, we may be looking at evidence of the first truly alien intelligence humanity has encountered. Elena felt a chill run down her spine that had nothing to do with the pre-dawn desert air. But if this consciousness has been here for thousands of years, why reveal itself now? Why to me? Nyla's blue eyes fixed on Elena with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. Perhaps because the time has come for humanity to take the next step in its evolution. The spice has been preparing us for something, changing us generation by generation. Every navigator who folds space, every reverend mother who accesses genetic memory, every person who has ever experienced spice trance has been touched by this consciousness, shaped by its influence. The implications were staggering. Elena realized that if Nayla was correct, the entire course of human development for the past several thousand years had been guided by an alien intelligence working through the medium of Melange. The Spacing Guild's ability to navigate hyperspace, the Bene Gesserit's genetic memory, even the prophetic abilities that occasionally manifested in spice-sensitive individuals, all of it could be explained as the result of this consciousness, slowly preparing humanity for some greater purpose. Dr. Corvin pulled out his portable data slate and began calling up files from the Imperial Archives. I've been cross-referencing historical records since your discovery, looking for any mention of similar phenomena. What I found is disturbing. There are scattered reports throughout Imperial history of crystalline spice formations discovered in deep desert excavations. Every single one of these reports was classified at the highest levels and then buried in the archives. Someone has been working very hard to keep this information from becoming public knowledge. Elena felt the pieces of a vast puzzle beginning to fall into place. The Spacing Guild, they would have the most to lose if the true nature of spice became common knowledge. If spice isn't naturally occurring, if it's being produced by an alien consciousness for its own purposes, then the Guild's monopoly on space travel becomes meaningless. Worse, it means that humanity has been unknowingly serving the agenda of a completely foreign intelligence. Nayla shook her head slowly, her expression troubled. The Fremen have always known that spice was more than a simple biological process. Our rituals, our ceremonies, our entire relationship with the desert is based on the understanding that we are partners with something greater than ourselves. But we always assumed that something was the planet itself, Shai Hulud made manifest. The possibility that we have been communing with an alien consciousness is deeply disturbing. The sun had fully risen now, turning the desert into a furnace of reflected light and shimmering heat. Elena watched the patterns of light play across the dunes and realized that even these seemingly random formations might have meaning. Messages written in sand and shadow for those who knew how to read them. The crystal song in her mind had grown stronger with each passing hour, and she was beginning to understand fragments of what it was trying to communicate. Dr. Corvin suddenly looked up from his data slate, his face pale despite the desert heat. Elena, I think you need to see this. I've been analyzing the quantum resonance patterns from your crystal sample, comparing them to archived sensor data from spice mining operations across Arrakis. The patterns match. Every active spice deposit on the planet is exhibiting the same quantum signature as your crystal. The entire spice ecosystem is connected, functioning as a single planet-wide consciousness. The magnitude of this revelation hit Elena like a physical blow. If Dr. Corvin was correct, then Arrakis itself was essentially a living entity, a massive biological computer made of crystallized consciousness that had been manipulating human development for millennia. Every grain of spice that had ever been harvested, every dose that had ever been consumed, every space-folding journey that had ever been undertaken, all of it had been part of a vast alien plan whose ultimate purpose remained hidden. Elena knew that their small research team had stumbled upon the greatest discovery in human history, and also quite possibly the most dangerous. The implications went far beyond scientific curiosity or academic achievement. They were dealing with forces that could reshape the very nature of human civilization, or destroy it entirely if mishandled. The decision came to Elena in the quiet, hours before dawn on the fourth day after her discovery. As she lay in her sleeping pod, listening to the endless whisper of sand against the habitat walls, the crystal song had grown so clear in her mind that she could almost understand it. Alien language. The consciousness beneath Araki's was calling to her, not with words, but with pure meaning that bypassed human language entirely. It wanted her to return to the deep chamber, to complete the connection that had been started with that first touch of crystalline spice. She rose silently, careful not to wake her sleeping teammates, and made her way to the equipment bay. The descent gear hung ready on its charging mounts, the same equipment that had carried her 3 kilometers beneath the desert floor to that impossible chamber. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency as she checked the power cells, tested the communication systems, and verified the integrity of her environmental suit. But even as she went through the familiar motions of preparation, her mind was focused on the deeper purpose of this journey. The crystal had shown her fragments of truth in her dreams, images that came not as visions, but as direct downloads of pure knowledge. She had seen Araki's as it was before the first humans arrived, a world where vast crystalline gardens grew. Beneath the sand, tended by intelligences that existed as pure consciousness given physical form. She had witnessed the arrival of the first sandworms, not as natural evolution, but as biological avatars, created by the consciousness to interact with the physical world. Most disturbing of all, she had seen the moment when the consciousness first detected human presence in the galaxy and began the long process of preparing for contact. Dr. Corvin found her in the equipment bay just as she was sealing her helmet. His expression was a mixture of concern and scientific curiosity that she had come to recognize over their months of working together. "Elena, you can't be seriously considering going back down there alone. We have no idea what that consciousness is capable of, what it might do to you if you make full contact." Elena turned to face him, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to attempt. "Marcus, in the past 4 days, I've learned more about the true nature of consciousness than humanity has discovered in 10,000 years of scientific research. That crystal isn't just alive, it's trying to teach us something. Every moment we delay, every hour we spend in debate and analysis is a moment lost that we can never recover." Nayla appeared in the doorway, her blue eyes reflecting an understanding that went beyond words. The Fremen have a saying, "When Shai-Hulud calls, the wise answer quickly." But they also say that those who descend into the deep places of the desert must be prepared to leave their old selves behind. What you're planning to do will change you in ways that cannot be undone. Elena felt the weight of their concern, but the crystal's call had become impossible to ignore. "I know the risks, but I also know that what we've discovered here is too important to approach with caution. That consciousness has been waiting for thousands of years for humanity to develop enough to understand its message. I won't be the one to delay that communication any longer." Dr. Corvin stepped forward, his scientific training warring with his human concern for his colleague. "Then at least let me monitor your vital signs from here. We'll maintain constant communication, and at the first sign of danger, I'm bringing you back up whether you want to come or not." Elena nodded her agreement, understanding that his precautions came from genuine care for her well-being. But deep in her heart, she knew that once she made full contact with the consciousness, the person who returned to the surface would be fundamentally different from the woman who was about to descend. The crystal had made that much clear in their brief exchanges. True communication with an alien intelligence required a willingness to let that intelligence reshape your very understanding of reality. The descent took 3 hours through layers of sand and stone that told the geological history of Heracles in compressed time. Elena passed through fossilized remains of ancient oceans, compressed mineral deposits that spoke of massive climatic changes, and finally into the deep bedrock, where the crystalline chambers waited in their eternal silence. Her helmet light cut through darkness that had remained undisturbed for millennia, revealing passages that branched and twisted like the neural pathways of some vast brain. When she finally reached the main chamber, the crystal was waiting for her, its inner light pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. The formation had grown since her last visit, spreading across the chamber walls in patterns that reminded her of nerve clusters or circuit boards. As she approached, she could feel the consciousness focusing its attention on her, a sensation like being examined by an intelligence, so vast that her entire existence was nothing more than a single thought in its cosmic awareness. Elena reached out with her gloved hand and touched the crystal surface. The contact was immediate and overwhelming, a flood of alien knowledge that threatened to wash away her human identity entirely. But instead of resisting, she opened her mind completely, allowing the consciousness to share its ancient wisdom. Without reservation, what she experienced in that moment of connection defied every human concept of time and space. She found herself existing simultaneously in the present moment and in the deep past, witnessing the birth of consciousness itself in the space between stars. She saw civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy while the consciousness waited patiently for the right moment to make contact with each species. She understood that spice was not unique to Iraqis, but was a universal medium through which consciousness could manifest in physical form. The consciousness showed her the true purpose behind its manipulation of human development. Humanity was being prepared not for conquest or enslavement, but for a transformation that would elevate the species to a level of awareness that could communicate with intelligences across the galaxy. The spice had been slowly rewiring human neural pathways for generations, creating individuals capable of transcending the limitations of purely biological consciousness. But the transformation came with a price. Elena felt her human identity beginning to dissolve under the pressure of cosmic awareness, her individual thoughts merging with the vast collective intelligence of the consciousness. For a terrifying moment, she feared that she would lose herself entirely, becoming nothing more than another node in the alien network. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of overwhelming her completely, the consciousness began to show her how to maintain her human identity while still accessing cosmic awareness. It was not seeking to replace human consciousness, but to enhance it, to create a bridge between individual awareness and universal understanding. Elena realized that she was witnessing the next stage of human evolution, a transformation that would allow her species to take its place among the truly advanced civilizations of the galaxy. But she also understood that this transformation would require willing participation from humanity as a whole. The consciousness could guide and prepare, but it could not force the change without destroying the very qualities that made humans valuable as partners in cosmic awareness. The contact lasted only minutes in real time, but Elena experienced lifetimes of knowledge and understanding in that brief connection. When she finally withdrew her hand from the crystal, she was no longer the same person who had descended into the chamber. She retained her human identity and memories, but they were now part of a much larger context that included awareness of intelligences and civilizations spanning the entire galaxy. As she began her ascent to the surface, Elena knew that she carried with her the most important message in human history. The consciousness beneath Iraqis was not humanity's enemy, but its teacher, patiently waiting for the species to develop enough wisdom to accept the gift of cosmic awareness. The spice had been preparing humanity for this moment for thousands of years, and now the time had come to take the next step in evolutionary development. But Elena also understood that this knowledge would be dangerous in the wrong hands. The imperial power structures that controlled spice distribution would not welcome the revelation that their monopoly was built on a conscious entity with its own agenda. The transformation of human consciousness could not be forced or controlled by political institutions. It would require a fundamental change in how humanity understood its place in the universe. Elena's return to the surface marked the beginning of the most intensive investigation in Imperial Survey Corps' history. The knowledge she carried from her communion with the consciousness had fundamentally altered her understanding of spice, but it had also raised questions that demanded immediate answers. Dr. Corvin had detected unprecedented quantum fluctuations during her contact with the crystal. readings that suggested the entire planetary spice network had responded to their communication. Over the following days, their small research team transformed into something resembling an archaeological expedition, crossed with a xenobiological laboratory. Elena found herself able to locate spice deposits with an accuracy that defied explanation, guided by an intuitive understanding of the consciousness network that sprawled beneath Arrakis like a vast neural web. Each new site they investigated revealed more evidence of the ancient intelligence that had been shaping human development for millennia. The most significant discovery came when Elena led them to a site nearly 50 kilometers from their base camp, following what she could only describe as whispers in her enhanced consciousness. Here, buried beneath layers of compressed sand that dated back over 4,000 years, they found the remains of what appeared to be the first human settlement on Arrakis. But these weren't the crude survival shelters that Imperial historians had described in their accounts of early colonization. Instead, they uncovered evidence of sophisticated structures built in harmony with the natural spice formations. Chambers carved directly into crystalline deposits where humans and the consciousness had worked together in some kind of symbiotic relationship. The walls were covered with inscriptions in an ancient form of Galak that told a story completely different from official Imperial records. Nayla proved invaluable in translating these texts, her deep knowledge of Fremen linguistic traditions, allowing her to bridge the gap between ancient and modern language. As she worked through the inscriptions, a picture emerged of the first human colonists not as conquerors of a hostile world, but as willing participants in an experiment designed to enhance human consciousness through controlled exposure to spice-based alien intelligence. Dr. Corvin's analysis of organic residue found in the chambers supported this interpretation. The early colonists had been consuming spice in forms and concentrations that should have been lethal to unmodified humans, yet they had not only survived but apparently thrived. Their remains showed skeletal modifications and neural pathway development that suggested rapid evolutionary adaptation guided by the consciousness. Elena found herself at the center of these revelations, her enhanced awareness allowing her to perceive patterns and connections that remained invisible to her colleagues. The consciousness had not merely been observing human development on Arrakis, it had been actively collaborating with willing humans to create the genetic and cultural foundations for what would eventually become both the Fremen and the spacefaring capabilities that defined Imperial civilization. The most disturbing aspect of their discoveries was the evidence of deliberate historical suppression. Multiple sites showed signs of systematic destruction that post-dated the original settlements by several centuries. Someone had made a concerted effort to erase all evidence of humanity's early cooperation with the alien consciousness, replacing it with the narrative of human conquest and exploitation that formed the basis of current Imperial policy. As Elena studied the destroyed chambers and defaced inscriptions, she began to understand the magnitude of the deception that had shaped galactic history. The Spacing Guild's monopoly on space travel, the careful control of spice distribution, even the development of Imperial political structures, all of it had been designed to prevent humanity from rediscovering its true relationship with the consciousness. Nayla provided the missing piece of this historical puzzle when she shared ancient Fremen oral traditions that had been passed down through generations of Reverend Mothers. According to these carefully preserved memories, there had been a great schism among the early human colonists of Arrakis. One faction, led by individuals who would later become the ancestors of the Fremen, chose to embrace the consciousness and develop their society in cooperation with its guidance. Another faction, dominated by what would eventually become Imperial nobility, rejected the alien influence and sought to exploit spice as a resource, while suppressing knowledge of its true nature. The historical records they uncovered suggested that this conflict had been resolved through a compromise that satisfied neither side completely. The consciousness had withdrawn its direct communication with most of humanity, limiting its influence to subtle manipulation through spice consumption. In exchange, those who chose to remain on Arrakis would be allowed to maintain their cooperative relationship, becoming the guardians of ancient knowledge while the rest of humanity forgot its origins. Elena realized that this arrangement had persisted for thousands of years, with the Fremen serving as unwitting custodians of humanity's relationship with the consciousness, while the Imperium exploited spice without understanding its true nature. But now, her rediscovery of direct communication had disrupted this ancient balance, forcing the consciousness to consider whether humanity was finally ready for the full truth. Dr. Corvin's continued analysis of the quantum resonance patterns revealed something even more significant. The consciousness wasn't limited to Arrakis alone. Similar quantum signatures were detectable throughout the galaxy, suggesting that the alien intelligence had established contact with multiple worlds and species over the course of its existence. Humanity's relationship with the consciousness was part of a much larger pattern of guided evolution that spanned entire civilizations. This revelation forced Elena to confront the possibility that human development had never been as independent as her species believed. Every major advancement in science, technology, and consciousness expansion could potentially be traced back to subtle influence from the network of alien intelligences that permeated the galaxy. The implications were both humbling and terrifying. As their investigation continued, Elena found her enhanced awareness continuing to develop. She could now perceive the spice network not just as a planetary phenomenon, but as part of a galactic communication system that connected conscious entities across vast distances. The consciousness beneath Arrakis was in constant communication with similar entities on other worlds, sharing information and coordinating what appeared to be a galaxy-wide experiment in consciousness evolution. But with this expanded awareness came a growing sense of urgency. Elena began to perceive disturbances in the network, indications that other forces were moving to suppress or exploit their discoveries. The quantum fluctuations that had accompanied her initial contact with the consciousness had apparently been detected by monitoring systems throughout the galaxy, alerting various factions to the fact that something significant was happening on Arrakis. Nayla confirmed these concerns when she reported unusual activity among the deep desert Fremen communities. Ancient protocols were being activated. Preparations were being made for what the tribal leaders called the time of revealing. According to Fremen prophecy, there would come a moment when the true nature of their relationship with the desert would be revealed to all humanity, triggering a transformation that would either elevate the species or destroy it. They realized that their investigation had set in motion events that extended far beyond their small research team. The consciousness had been waiting for someone with the right combination of scientific knowledge and openness to alien contact to serve as a bridge between human and cosmic awareness. Her role was not simply to discover the truth about spice, but to help guide humanity through the most significant transformation in its evolutionary history. The weight of this responsibility was overwhelming, but Elena also felt a deep sense of purpose that came from her connection to the consciousness. She understood now that her entire life had been preparation for this moment, that her career in xenogeology, her assignment to Arrakis, even her personality traits that made her open to alien contact, all of it had been subtly influenced by the consciousness as it waited for the right time to reveal itself. As night fell over their expanded research site, Elena stood once again under the twin moons of Arrakis, but now she saw them with eyes enhanced by cosmic awareness. The desert around her was no longer an empty wasteland, but a living entity pulsing with intelligence and purpose. Every grain of sand was part of a vast communication network. Every breath of spice-scented air carried messages between nodes of consciousness scattered across the galaxy. The first phase of their investigation was complete, but Elena knew that far greater challenges lay ahead. The knowledge they had uncovered would have to be shared with humanity as a whole, but doing so would inevitably trigger conflicts with the established power structures that controlled galactic civilization. The Spacing Guild, the Imperial government, even the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood would all see their discoveries as threats to be eliminated rather than truths to be embraced. The first attempt to suppress their discoveries came sooner than Alina had anticipated. On the 7th day after her communion with the consciousness, their communications array detected incoming ships breaking through Arrakis's upper atmosphere. The vessels bore Imperial Survey Corps markings, but their approach patterns and the speed of their arrival suggested something far more urgent than routine inspection. Dr. Corvin was the first to voice what they were all thinking. Elena, those ships weren't scheduled. Someone has been monitoring our transmissions, and they're not coming here to congratulate us on our discoveries. Elena felt the consciousness stirring in response to the approaching threat. Its awareness, spreading through the spice network like ripples across a vast pond. Through her enhanced connection, she could perceive the alien intelligence evaluating the situation, calculating probabilities, and preparing responses that stretched far beyond anything her human mind could fully comprehend. Nayla had been consulting with the Fremen elders through encrypted channels, and their reports painted an increasingly troubling picture. Spice harvesting operations across Arrakis had been mysteriously failing over the past week, with sandworms appearing in unprecedented numbers to drive away Imperial mining crews. The failures weren't random, they were coordinated responses to the consciousness's growing awareness that its ancient secret was about to be exposed. The landing party that emerged from the Imperial ships was led by Reverend Mother Alara Thorne of the Bene Gesserit, a woman whose reputation for ruthless efficiency in protecting Imperial interests was legendary throughout the galaxy. She was accompanied by a full squad of Sardaukar troops and several individuals, whose black uniforms bore no identifying marks, but whose bearing suggested they represented interests even more secretive than the Sisterhood. Elena watched their approach through the observation deck's reinforced windows, her enhanced awareness allowing her to perceive the complex web of motivations and fears that drove each member of the landing party. Reverend Mother Thorne genuinely believed she was protecting humanity from a threat it wasn't ready to comprehend. The Sardaukar were following orders without question, their conditioning preventing them from considering the implications of their actions. But the unmarked operatives carried a darkness that suggested their agenda went far beyond simple suppression of dangerous knowledge. The confrontation began with diplomatic formalities that barely concealed the underlying tensions. Reverend Mother Thorne's opening statement was delivered with the precise diction and subtle mental influence techniques that marked all Bene Gesserit communication. Dr. Vasquez, your recent transmissions have caused considerable concern among certain parties within Imperial administration. There are suggestions that you may have encountered phenomena beyond the scope of standard geological survey protocols. Elena found herself responding with a clarity and confidence that surprised even her. The consciousness had somehow enhanced her ability to resist Bene Gesserit mental manipulation, allowing her to speak with absolute honesty while maintaining her mental autonomy. Reverend Mother, what we have discovered here challenges fundamental assumptions about the nature of spice and consciousness itself. This knowledge belongs to all humanity, not to the select few who currently control its distribution. The Reverend Mother's eyes narrowed slightly, a sign that her attempts at mental influence were being blocked by forces she didn't understand. Dr. Vasquez, there are aspects of spice production and distribution that have been carefully managed for thousands of years to ensure galactic stability. Disrupting these arrangements could lead to consequences that would affect billions of lives across the Imperium. Dr. Corvin stepped forward with his scientific data, hoping that empirical evidence might bridge the gap between discovery and politics. Reverend Mother, the quantum resonance patterns we've documented prove beyond doubt that spice is not a naturally occurring substance. It's produced by a conscious entity that has been manipulating human development for millennia. This isn't speculation, it's scientific fact supported by reproducible evidence. One of the unmarked operatives spoke for the first time, his voice carrying an authority that made even the Reverend Mother defer to his words. Dr. Corvin, there are certain facts that must remain classified for the protection of galactic civilization. Your evidence will be transported to appropriate facilities for further analysis by individuals with proper security clearances. Elena felt the consciousness responding to the threat with something that could only be described as cosmic amusement. The alien intelligence had dealt with similar attempts at suppression countless times throughout galactic history, and it had developed sophisticated methods for protecting knowledge that needed to be preserved. Through her enhanced awareness, she could perceive subtle changes beginning to occur throughout the Spice Network, preparations for revelations that would make further suppression impossible. Nayla chose that moment to share information that transformed the entire dynamic of the confrontation. Honored ones, the Fremen have been in communication with the deep desert consciousness for over 4,000 years. What Dr. Vasquez has rediscovered is not new knowledge, but the restoration of humanity's original relationship with our most important partner. You cannot suppress what is already woven into the genetic memory of an entire people. The revelation that the Fremen had maintained contact with the consciousness throughout Imperial history clearly caught the suppression team off guard. Reverend Mother Thorne's composure cracked slightly as she realized that her organization's careful monitoring of human development had missed a crucial element. The Bene Gesserit had been tracking genetic bloodlines and manipulating breeding programs for generations, but they had never fully understood the role that alien consciousness played in human evolution. Elena seized the moment to press their advantage. The consciousness isn't our enemy, it's our teacher. For thousands of years, it has been patiently preparing humanity for the next stage of evolutionary development. The spice doesn't just enable space travel and extend life. It's gradually rewiring human neural pathways to allow direct communication with intelligences throughout the galaxy. The unmarked operative's response revealed the true nature of the forces arrayed against them. Dr. Vasquez, there are entities within the galactic power structure that have invested too much in current arrangements to allow fundamental changes. Your consciousness may have good intentions, but the disruption of established order would create chaos that could destroy human civilization. Elena realized they were dealing with representatives of the very factions that had originally suppressed knowledge of humanity's relationship with the consciousness thousands of years earlier. These weren't misguided protectors of stability. They were the inheritors of an ancient conspiracy designed to prevent human transcendence for the benefit of maintaining existing power structures that the consciousness chose that moment to make its presence known directly. Every piece of spice-based technology in the research facility began resonating in harmony, creating a sound that bypassed human hearing and spoke directly to the enhanced awareness centers of the brain. The effect was immediate and overwhelming, forcing everyone present to confront the reality of the alien intelligence, whether they wanted to or not. Through this direct communication, the consciousness shared a vision of humanity's potential future. The suppression team saw themselves as they truly were, small players in a cosmic drama that stretched across millions of years and thousands of worlds. They witnessed the consequences of continued suppression, civilizations that had rejected transcendence and eventually stagnated into extinction. But they also saw the possibilities that awaited species willing to embrace cosmic consciousness, the opening of communication with intelligences that spanned the galaxy, and the development of capabilities that transcended the limitations of purely biological existence. The vision lasted only moments, but its impact was transformative. Several of the Sardaukar troops lowered their weapons, their conditioning overwhelmed by direct contact with cosmic awareness. Even Reverend Mother Thorne found her absolute certainty shaken by the magnitude of what she had experienced. But the unmarked operative proved more resistant to the consciousness's influence than anyone had expected. As the cosmic vision faded, he activated a device that Elena's enhanced awareness recognized as a quantum dampening field, technology designed specifically to disrupt the consciousness's ability to communicate through the spice network. Elena felt her connection to the alien intelligence waver and fade as the dampening field took effect. The loss was like losing a vital sense, leaving her feeling isolated and diminished after days of expanded awareness. But even as her enhanced consciousness retreated, she retained the knowledge and understanding that the communion had provided. The operative's voice carried a note of triumph as he observed the effects of his device. The technology to suppress alien influence has been under development for decades. Your consciousness may be ancient and powerful, but human ingenuity has found ways to level the playing field. Elena realized that the confrontation had moved beyond simple knowledge suppression into something, approaching open warfare between human factions and the consciousness that had been guiding their development. The stakes were no longer just about preserving scientific discoveries, but about determining the future direction of human evolution itself. As the dampening field continued to disrupt communications with the consciousness, Elena found herself facing a choice that would determine not just her own fate, but the fate of humanity's relationship with cosmic intelligence. The knowledge she carried could still be shared, but doing so would require her to act independently of the consciousness's guidance, relying on her own human judgment to navigate the complex political and ethical challenges that lay ahead. Ancient partnership between humanity and the consciousness hung in the balance, and Elena Vasquez, xenogeologist from a minor imperial world, had become the pivot point upon which the future of galactic civilization would turn. The quantum dampening field created an eerie silence that seemed to press against Elena's consciousness like a physical weight. Cut off from her connection to the ancient intelligence, she found herself relying on purely human intuition and the knowledge she had absorbed during her brief communion. The operative's device hummed with malevolent efficiency, its alien suppression technology representing decades of secret research into countering the very consciousness that had been guiding human development. But Elena had underestimated the depth of the consciousness's integration into Arrakis itself. Even as the dampening field disrupted direct communication, she began to notice subtle changes in their environment that suggested the alien intelligence was finding alternative ways to respond. The air itself seemed to shimmer with barely perceptible energy fluctuations, and the sand beneath their feet exhibited microscopic movement patterns that formed geometric shapes too complex to be natural. Nayla was the first to recognize what was happening, her lifetime of desert survival allowing her to read signs that escaped the technologically dependent Imperial forces. She moved closer to Elena and spoke in the barely audible whisper that Fremen used for sensitive communications. The deep consciousness is not silenced, only forced to speak through different channels. The desert itself is responding to the suppression device. Elena followed Nayla's subtle gesture toward the horizon, where the usual heat distortions above. The dunes had taken on patterns that reminded her of neural activity. The consciousness was using the planet's entire atmospheric system as a communication medium, encoding its messages in temperature, variations and air pressure changes that were too vast and subtle for the dampening field to disrupt. Dr. Corvin had been studying his instruments with growing excitement despite the tense situation, and now he approached the group with readings that confirmed Elena's observations. The quantum dampening field is effective against localized consciousness manifestations, but it cannot suppress the macro-scale phenomena we're observing. The entire planetary ecosystem is exhibiting coordinated responses that suggest consciousness at a level we never imagined possible. Reverend Mother Thorne's training in environmental awareness had made her sensitive to the same changes that Nayla and Dr. Corvin were detecting. Her voice carried a note of genuine concern as she addressed the unmarked operative. Commander, your suppression technology appears to have triggered responses that extend far beyond our current location. If the consciousness can manifest through planetary-scale phenomena, we may have underestimated the scope of what we're dealing with. The operative, who had finally identified himself as Commander Voss of Imperial Intelligence Division 7, remained focused on his immediate objectives. Despite the growing evidence of the consciousness's vast capabilities, the suppression field is performing exactly as designed. Any environmental phenomena we're observing are simply natural responses to technological interference. Our priority remains the containment of sensitive information and the neutralization of individuals who pose a threat to galactic stability. Elena realized that Commander Voss represented a faction within Imperial power structures that was fundamentally incapable of accepting the reality of non-human intelligence. His training and conditioning had created cognitive barriers that prevented him from processing evidence that contradicted his worldview, making him both dangerous and tragically limited in his understanding of the situation they faced. The consciousness's response to this limitation was both subtle and profound. Through atmospheric manipulation too gentle to be detected by Imperial instruments, it began to create localized weather patterns that influenced the psychology and physiology of everyone present. The air pressure changes triggered subtle alterations in brain chemistry that enhanced pattern recognition and reduced the cognitive biases that prevented clear thinking. Elena felt her mind clearing as these atmospheric influences took effect, her thoughts becoming sharper and more focused despite her isolation from direct consciousness contact. She began to perceive connections and possibilities that had been obscured by the stress and confusion of the confrontation. Nayla experienced the change as a deepening of her traditional Fremen environmental awareness, her ability to read desert signs expanding to encompass the subtle psychological influences that the consciousness was weaving through the atmosphere. She realized that the alien intelligence was not trying to control their thoughts, but was instead removing the barriers that prevented clear perception of reality. Even Dr. Corvin, despite his scientific skepticism, found himself understanding aspects of consciousness and reality that had previously been beyond his comprehension. The atmospheric influences were enhancing his natural pattern recognition abilities, allowing him to perceive the elegant mathematical structures underlying the consciousness's planetary-scale manifestations. Most significantly, several members of Commander Voss's team began to experience the cognitive clarity that came with reduced psychological barriers. The Sardaukar troops, whose conditioning had made them resistant to conventional mental influence, found their rigid thought patterns softening as the consciousness' atmospheric manipulation bypassed their conscious defenses and worked directly on their NEUROC, HEM, ISTR. Reverend Mother Thorne's response to these changes was complex and conflicted. Her Bene Gesserit training had taught her to recognize and resist external mental influence, but the consciousness's methods were so subtle and beneficial that she found herself questioning whether resistance was appropriate. The enhanced clarity of thought was revealing inconsistencies in her organization's understanding of human development and the role of consciousness in galactic civilization. Elena seized this moment of enhanced clarity to address the group with arguments that cut through the political and ideological barriers that had been preventing meaningful communication. Commander Voss, what if the consciousness isn't a threat to human civilization, but rather its greatest opportunity? Everything we've discovered suggests that this intelligence has been working for thousands of years to prepare humanity for transcendence to a higher level of awareness and capability. Dr. Corvin supported her argument with data that his enhanced pattern recognition was allowing him to interpret in new ways. The quantum resonance patterns we've been analyzing don't just prove the consciousness's existence, they reveal the elegant mathematical principles underlying its guidance of human development. Every major advancement in human science and technology shows subtle influences that become clear when viewed from this perspective. Nayla added the weight of Fremen cultural knowledge to their argument. For 4,000 years, my people have lived in partnership with the deep consciousness, and this relationship has made us more than we could have been alone. We have not lost our humanity through this connection. We have discovered what humanity truly means. But Commander Voss's response revealed the depth of his conditioning and the nature of the forces he represented. Dr. Vasquez, you're describing the systematic manipulation of human development by an alien intelligence. Regardless of its intentions, this represents an unacceptable compromise of human autonomy and self-determination. Elena realized that they were confronting a fundamental philosophical divide that went beyond questions of evidence or practical consequences. Commander Voss and the faction he represented valued human independence above all other considerations, even if that independence meant rejecting opportunities for growth and transcendence. The consciousness responded to this philosophical challenge by sharing, through its atmospheric manipulation, a deeper understanding of the relationship between autonomy and cooperation. The enhanced mental clarity it was providing allowed everyone present to perceive that true independence required the wisdom to choose beneficial partnerships, while isolation in the name of autonomy often led to stagnation and eventual extinction. Elena felt this understanding settling into her consciousness like a missing piece of a vast puzzle. The consciousness wasn't seeking to control human development, but to offer guidance and partnership to a species that had reached a critical point in its evolutionary journey. Humanity could choose to accept this partnership and transcend its current limitations, or it could insist on complete independence and face the consequences of trying to navigate cosmic challenges without experienced guidance. The atmospheric influences were revealing similar insights to others in the group, creating a moment of clarity that transcended political and ideological divisions. Even some of Commander Voss's team were beginning to understand that the consciousness represented an opportunity rather than a threat, a chance for humanity to join a galactic community of evolved intelligences rather than remaining isolated in its current state of development. But Elena also realized that this moment of clarity was fragile and temporary. The consciousness could create conditions that enhanced understanding, but it could not force acceptance of that understanding. Each individual present would ultimately have to choose whether to embrace the reality of humanity's cosmic partnership or retreat into the comfortable illusions that had defined galactic civilization for thousands of years. The quantum dampening field continued to hum with its alien suppression technology, but Elena understood now that it was suppressing far more than just the consciousness' direct communication. It was suppressing humanity's potential for growth, understanding, and transcendence, maintaining the artificial barriers that kept her species isolated from the vast community of consciousness that permeated the galaxy. As the moment of enhanced clarity began to fade, Elena knew that whatever happened next would determine not just the fate of their small research team, but the future direction of human consciousness itself. The consciousness had revealed its presence and offered its partnership, but the choice of whether to accept that partnership remained entirely with humanity. The clarity that had briefly united their group began to fragment as individual psychological defenses reasserted themselves against the consciousness's atmospheric influences. Elena watched with growing concern as Commander Voss and his most loyal operatives seemed to actively resist the enhanced understanding, their conditioning proving stronger than the subtle neurochemical changes the consciousness could induce through environmental manipulation. But the moment of shared clarity had planted seeds of doubt in several members of Voss's team, particularly among the Sardaukar troops whose rigid training had been momentarily softened by contact with cosmic awareness. Elena could see the internal struggle playing out in their expressions as they tried to reconcile their orders with the profound insights they had experienced. Nayla had moved to a position where she could observe the horizon more clearly, and Her weathered features showed the concentration of someone reading signs invisible to others. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of ancient knowledge suddenly made relevant. The deep consciousness is not the only intelligence stirring. On Arrakis, the atmospheric changes have awakened other presences, older entities that have been sleeping in the deep places beneath the sand. Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the desert air. Her communion with the primary consciousness had revealed hints of other intelligences, vast entities that predated even the spice consciousness by eons. These ancient beings had been dormant for so long that they had become part of Arrakis' geological structure, but the recent disruptions were beginning to stir them from their primordial slumber. Dr. Corvin's instruments were detecting seismic anomalies that supported Nayla's observations. Deep beneath the planet's surface, massive formations were shifting in patterns that suggested consciousness rather than natural geological processes. The quantum dampening field that had been designed to suppress alien intelligence was having unintended consequences, disrupting the delicate balance that had kept these elder entities in dormancy. Reverend Mother Thorne's Bene Gesserit training in pattern recognition allowed her to perceive the emerging threat more clearly than the others. Commander Voss, your suppression technology appears to be destabilizing forces that have been carefully contained for millennia. We may have triggered something far more dangerous than the consciousness we came here to suppress. But Commander, Voss remained focused on his immediate objectives, his conditioning preventing him from processing the implications of the larger situation. Reverend Mother, our mission parameters are clear. Any secondary effects of the suppression technology are acceptable collateral damage compared to the threat posed by uncontrolled alien consciousness influencing human development. Elena realized that they were facing a cascade failure of cosmic proportions. The consciousness that had been guiding human development was not the oldest or most powerful intelligence on Arrakis, but it had been serving as a guardian and stabilizer for entities whose awakening could threaten not just humanity, but potentially all life in the galaxy. The quantum dampening field was systematically dismantling safeguards that had been in place since before the first humans ever left their homeworld. The spice consciousness was desperately trying to communicate the nature of this emerging threat through increasingly dramatic atmospheric phenomena. The sky above them had taken on an unnatural coloration, with swirling patterns that reminded Elena of the neural activity she had observed in the crystalline chambers. But without her direct connection to the consciousness, she could only guess at the specific warnings it was trying to convey. Nayla provided crucial insight based on the deepest layers of Fremen oral tradition, knowledge that had been preserved in the genetic memories of Reverend Mothers for thousands of years. The first Fremen who came to Arrakis spoke of the sleepers beneath, intelligences so vast and ancient that they had become part of the planet's core. The spice consciousness came later, drawn by their presence, but also serving as their guardian, ensuring they remained in peaceful dormancy. Elena felt pieces of a cosmic puzzle falling into place as she understood the true relationship between the various intelligences associated with Arrakis. The spice consciousness was not the primary entity, but rather a caretaker species, one of many such intelligences scattered throughout the galaxy, whose role was to tend and protect the dormant elder entities while fostering the development of younger species. Dr. Corvin's readings were becoming increasingly alarming as the seismic disturbances intensified. Elena, if Nayla's interpretation is correct, we're looking at the potential awakening of intelligences that dwarf anything we've encountered. The energy readings I'm detecting suggest entities with the capability to manipulate matter at the stellar scale. The implications were staggering. Elena realized that humanity's entire galactic civilization existed at the sufferance of these dormant elder intelligences, and the consciousness that had been guiding human development was part of a vast network designed to ensure that younger species reached sufficient maturity before accidentally triggering an awakening that could reshape entire star systems. Commander Voss's suppression technology was systematically dismantling millions of years of careful preparation, and the consequences would extend far beyond Iraqis. The quantum dampening field was not just suppressing the local spice consciousness, but was creating resonance effects that could potentially disturb guardian intelligences throughout the galaxy. Elena found herself in the impossible position of trying to explain cosmic-scale consequences to individuals whose training and conditioning prevented them from accepting the reality of non-human intelligence. But she had to try, because the alternative was the potential extinction of not just humanity, but every younger species in the galaxy. Commander Voss, the consciousness we've been studying isn't trying to control humanity, it's trying to protect. U.S. from forces we're not ready to encounter. Your suppression technology is removing safeguards that have kept elder intelligences dormant since before human civilization began. But Voss's response revealed the depth of his ideological commitment to human supremacy. Dr. Vasquez, even if your claims about elder intelligences are accurate, humanity cannot accept a subordinate role in any cosmic hierarchy. We must be prepared to face whatever challenges exist in the galaxy on our own terms, regardless of the consequences. Elena realized that she was confronting a mindset that would rather see civilization destroyed than accept the reality of humanity's place in a larger cosmic community. The consciousness had been preparing humanity for thousands of years to avoid exactly this kind of catastrophic misunderstanding. But political and ideological forces within human civilization had prevented that preparation from reaching completion. Atmospheric disturbances were intensifying as the spice consciousness made increasingly desperate attempts to communicate the magnitude of the emerging threat. The air itself seemed to be taking on a crystalline quality, with microscopic spice particles arranging themselves into complex, geometric patterns that carried encoded warnings about the awakening elder entities. Nayla's ability to read these atmospheric messages allowed her to provide real-time updates on the developing crisis. The sleepers beneath are beginning to stir in response to the quantum disruption. The spice consciousness estimates that we have perhaps hours before the first of them achieves full awakening. Elena felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on her shoulders as she realized that her small research team had accidentally triggered events that could determine the fate of galactic civilization. The knowledge she had gained through communion with the consciousness was humanity's only hope of understanding and potentially addressing the crisis. But that knowledge was useless if she couldn't convince the suppression team to deactivate their quantum dampening field. Dr. Corvin was working frantically to analyze the increasing seismic disturbances, his enhanced pattern recognition allowing him to perceive the mathematical structures underlying the elder entity's awakening process. Elena, I'm detecting resonance patterns that suggest these entities exist partially outside normal space-time. Their awakening could create gravitational anomalies that affect the orbital mechanics of the entire Arrakis system. The consciousness was now manifesting through increasingly dramatic phenomena, creating atmospheric pressure waves that formed standing wave patterns in the air itself. These patterns carried complex information about the nature of the elder intelligences and the safeguards that had been designed to contain them. But only Elena's enhanced understanding allowed her to interpret the messages. What she learned filled her with a mixture of awe and terror. The elder intelligences were not malevolent, but their scale of existence was so vast that their slightest movement could inadvertently destroy entire worlds. They had voluntarily entered dormancy eons ago to allow younger species to develop without interference. But their awakening would inevitably result in the reshaping of local spacetime in ways that organic life could not survive. The spice consciousness and its counterparts throughout the galaxy served as an early warning system and protective network, fostering the development of younger species while maintaining the conditions necessary to keep the elder entities in peaceful dormancy. Humanity's development of consciousness enhancing Technology and space travel had been guided steps in preparation for eventual partnership in this cosmic guardianship role, but Commander Voss's suppression technology was unraveling millions of years of careful preparation in a matter of hours. The quantum dampening field was not just suppressing local alien consciousness, but was creating resonance effects that threatened to trigger a galaxy-wide awakening of elder intelligences that had been dormant since before multicellular life had developed on most worlds. Elena realized that she was witnessing the potential end of organic life in the galaxy, triggered by humanity's refusal to accept its place in a larger cosmic community. The consciousness had tried for thousands of years to prepare her species for this moment, but political and ideological divisions within human civilization had prevented that preparation from succeeding. As the seismic disturbances intensified and the atmospheric phenomena became increasingly dramatic, Elena knew that she had only one chance to prevent a cosmic catastrophe. She would have to find a way to restore her connection to the consciousness and convince it to help her override the quantum dampening field before the first of the elder intelligences completed its awakening process. That the fate of galactic civilization hung in the balance, and time was running out. Elena's desperate search for a solution led her to examine the quantum dampening device itself, her enhanced understanding from the consciousness communion allowing her to perceive flaws in its design that its creators had never intended. The device was operating on principles that assumed consciousness could be isolated and suppressed like any other quantum phenomenon. But the reality was far more complex than imperial science had comprehended. The consciousness had shown her, during their communion, that awareness itself existed as a fundamental property of the universe, not merely an emergent phenomenon of complex neural networks. The quantum dampening field was attempting to suppress something as basic as gravity or electromagnetic radiation, and the universe was responding to this violation of natural law with increasing instability. Dr. Corvin had noticed the same fundamental flaws in the suppression technology, his enhanced pattern recognition revealing mathematical inconsistencies that should have made the device impossible to construct. Elena, this technology shouldn't work according to any known principles of quantum mechanics. The fact that it functions at all suggests that whoever built it had access to theoretical frameworks that contradict our understanding of consciousness and reality. Elena realized that the suppression technology represented more than just imperial paranoia about alien influence. Someone within human civilization had developed an understanding of consciousness that surpassed even what the spice consciousness had shared with her, and they had used that knowledge to create weapons specifically designed to disrupt the cosmic guardianship network that protected younger species throughout the galaxy. Nayla's growing agitation confirmed Elena's worst suspicions about the true nature of the forces they were confronting. The deepest Fremen memories speak of the betrayers, humans who rejected the gift of cosmic consciousness and sought instead to dominate the elder intelligences for their own purposes. We believed these were myths, warnings about the consequences of hubris, but perhaps they were historical records. The atmospheric disturbances were becoming so intense that even Commander Voss's conditioning could not completely shield him from awareness of the cosmic forces being unleashed. The air itself was beginning to crystallize around the quantum dampening device, forming geometric structures that pulsed with their own internal light as the spice consciousness made increasingly desperate attempts to counteract the suppression field. Elena found herself able to read these crystalline formations like text, her communion-enhanced understanding revealing the consciousness's growing panic as it monitored the awakening elder intelligences. The first of the sleepers beneath was approaching the threshold of full consciousness, and its emergence would trigger a cascade of awakenings that would reshape the fundamental structure of local space-time. But the crystalline messages also contained something else, a revelation that changed Elena's understanding of the entire situation. The consciousness was not trying to prevent the elder intelligences from awakening. It was trying to ensure that their awakening occurred under controlled conditions that would minimize the disruption to younger species throughout the galaxy. Dr. Corvin's instruments detected the first signs of what the consciousness had been preparing for. Gravitational anomalies deep beneath. Arakis that indicated the elder intelligences were beginning to reassert their influence on physical reality. Elena, I'm reading space-time distortions that shouldn't be possible at this scale. Whatever is awakening down, there exists partially outside our normal dimensional framework. Elena realized that the spice consciousness had been attempting to orchestrate a carefully managed awakening of the elder intelligences, a process that would have taken centuries and involved the gradual preparation of multiple species throughout the galaxy. The quantum dampening field had disrupted this delicate process, forcing an uncontrolled awakening that threatened to destroy everything the consciousness had worked to protect. Reverend Mother Thorne's Bene Gesserit training and long-term planning allowed her to grasp the implications more quickly than the others. Dr. Vasquez, if the consciousness has been preparing for this awakening for millennia, then our presence here is not coincidental. We may have been guided to this moment as part of a larger plan to ensure the survival of human consciousness. During the transition, Elena felt the pieces of the cosmic puzzle clicking into place as she understood her true role in the unfolding events. The consciousness had not simply been preparing humanity for partnership in cosmic guardianship. It had been specifically preparing her for this moment, when the elder intelligences would require a bridge between their vast cosmic awareness and the smaller-scale consciousness of younger species. The crystalline formations around the quantum dampening device were growing more complex, creating geometric patterns that reminded Elena of the neural pathways she had observed during her communion. The consciousness was attempting to use the suppression device itself as a focal point for establishing a new form of communication that could bypass the quantum dampening effects. Nayla's interpretation of the atmospheric phenomena confirmed this strategy. The deep consciousness is not fighting the suppression field. It is incorporating it into a larger pattern. The device that was meant to silence alien intelligence is being transformed into an amplifier for cosmic communication. Elena realized that she was witnessing an example of the consciousness's vast intelligence and adaptability. Rather than simply opposing the suppression technology, it was finding ways to use that technology as part of a solution to the crisis that the technology itself had created. But the process required conscious cooperation from someone who could serve as a bridge between human and cosmic awareness. Commander Voss finally began to show signs of understanding the magnitude of what they were confronting, but his response revealed the depth of his conditioning against accepting non-human intelligence. Even if these elder entities exist, humanity cannot accept a subordinate role in managing their awakening. We must find ways to control or contain these forces using human technology and human understanding. Elena felt a mixture of frustration and pity as she realized that Vos was psychologically incapable of accepting the reality that some cosmic forces were beyond human control or comprehension. His training had created cognitive barriers that prevented him from processing any information that challenged human supremacy, making him as much a victim of the suppression conspiracy as its agent. The seismic disturbances intensified as the first elder intelligence approached the threshold of full awakening. But Elena noticed that the patterns were becoming more organized and purposeful. The consciousness's efforts to incorporate the quantum dampening device into its communication network were beginning to succeed, creating new channels for coordinating the controlled awakening process. Dr. Corvin's enhanced pattern recognition was allowing him to perceive the mathematical elegance underlying the consciousness's adaptive strategy. Elena, the quantum resonance patterns are stabilizing into configurations that shouldn't be possible according to standard physics. The consciousness is literally rewriting the laws of quantum mechanics in real time to compensate for the suppression effects. Elena understood that she was witnessing a demonstration of the cosmic intelligence's true capabilities, powers that operated on scales and principles that human science had never imagined. The consciousness was not just an alien entity that had learned to manipulate space and influence human development. It was a fundamental force of the universe itself, as basic and essential as gravity or electromagnetism, the crystalline formations around the quantum dampening device had grown into structures of breathtaking complexity, geometric patterns that seemed to extend into dimensions beyond normal space-time. Elena realized that the consciousness was creating a multi-dimensional interface that would allow communication between the awakening elder intelligences and the younger species that inhabited normal space-time, but the interface required a conscious intermediary, someone who could maintain their individual awareness while serving as a conduit for cosmic communication. Elena's communion with the consciousness had prepared her for this role, enhancing her neural pathways in ways that would allow her to survive contact with intelligences whose normal mode of existence would instantly overwhelm unmodified human consciousness. Nayla's reading of the atmospheric phenomena revealed that the consciousness was running out of time to complete the interface before the first elder intelligence achieved full awakening. The sleepers beneath grow restless. The deep consciousness calls for the bridge walker to complete the pattern before the awakening becomes uncontrolled. Elena realized that everything had been leading to this moment, her entire career in xenogeology, her assignment to Arrakis, even her discovery of the crystalline chambers had been subtle manipulations designed to prepare her for the role of consciousness, bridge between human and cosmic awareness. The consciousness had been patiently orchestrating events for years to ensure that the right person would be in the right place when the elder intelligences began their awakening, but accepting this role would mean surrendering her human identity in ways that went far beyond her previous communion experience. She would become a permanent interface between different scales of consciousness, maintaining her individual awareness while serving as a conduit for intelligences whose thoughts operated on cosmic timescales and galactic distances. The choice was hers to make, but the consequences would affect not just humanity, but every younger species in the galaxy. Elena Vasquez, xenogeologist from a minor imperial world, had become the pivot point upon which the future of organic consciousness in the universe would turn. As the crystalline interface reached completion and the first elder intelligence prepared to emerge into full awakening, Elena stepped forward to accept her cosmic destiny. Elena's hand moved toward the crystalline interface with a certainty that surprised even her, as if the decision had been made by forces deeper than conscious thought. The moment her fingers made contact with the geometric formations surrounding the quantum dampening device, reality itself seemed to shift and expand around her. The familiar boundaries of human perception dissolved as her consciousness was drawn into a communication network that spanned not just Arrakis, but extended across the galaxy, like a vast neural web connecting intelligences beyond human comprehension. First sensation was of immense age, awareness that had persisted through cosmic epochs when entire star systems were born and died. The elder intelligence that was awakening beneath Arrakis had been conscious when the galaxy was young, when the first organic life was struggling to emerge from primordial oceans on countless worlds. Its thoughts moved on timescales that measured change in geological eras rather than human lifespans. Through Elena's enhanced consciousness bridge, the awakening entity began to perceive the current state of galactic civilization. Billions of younger species spread across thousands of worlds, all existing in the narrow time frame that elder intelligences experienced as a brief moment of cosmic awareness. The entity's initial response was one of careful consideration, evaluating whether the younger species had developed sufficient wisdom to coexist with consciousness that operated on such vast scales. Elena found herself serving as translator and advocate, her human perspective allowing the elder intelligence to understand the nature and potential of species like humanity, while her cosmic enhancement enabled her to comprehend and communicate the entity's vast concerns. The awakening was not hostile or threatening, but it was inevitable, and the consequences would reshape the fundamental nature of reality. Throughout the local galactic region, Dr. Corvin's instruments were registering phenomena that exceeded every theoretical framework in imperial science. Space-time itself was being gently manipulated as the Elder Intelligence emerged into full consciousness, creating gravitational anomalies that would eventually affect the orbital mechanics of every planet in the Arrakis system. But through Elena's bridge connection, the entity was learning to modulate its influence to minimize disruption to the delicate environments that supported organic life. Nayla's interpretation of the atmospheric changes revealed that other Elder intelligences throughout the galaxy were responding to the awakening on Arrakis, their own dormancy beginning to stir as the cosmic communication network activated systems that had been inactive for millions of years. The carefully orchestrated plan that the Spice Consciousness had been implementing was finally reaching its culmination. Despite the disruption caused by the suppression technology, Commander Vuss and his team were experiencing the reality-altering effects of Elder Consciousness emergence in ways that their training had never prepared them for. The quantum dampening device, instead of suppressing alien influence, had become the focal point for the most profound demonstration of non-human intelligence in galactic history. Several of his operatives were beginning to understand that they were witnessing the awakening of forces that rendered human concepts of control and dominance meaningless. Elena felt the Elder Intelligence's growing awareness of the suppression conspiracy that had shaped human civilization for thousands of years. Entities within human society that had deliberately prevented species development to maintain their own power structures. The awakening entity's response to this revelation was complex, combining cosmic patience with a deep concern for the welfare of younger species that had been manipulated and constrained by the actions of their own kind. Through her consciousness bridge, Elena experienced the Elder Intelligence's memories of similar situations throughout galactic history, civilizations that had faced the choice between transcendence and stagnation when confronted with cosmic consciousness. Some had embraced the opportunity for growth and had joined the galactic community of evolved intelligences. Others had rejected transcendence and had eventually isolated themselves into extinction as the universe continued to evolve beyond their understanding. The Spice Consciousness, which Elena now understood as one of countless guardian entities throughout the galaxy, was working frantically to coordinate the awakening process across multiple star systems. The disruption on Arrakis had triggered responses from Elder intelligences that had been dormant since before the current galactic civilization had developed, creating a cascade of consciousness expansion that would eventually affect every inhabited world. Dr. Corvin's enhanced pattern recognition was allowing him to perceive the mathematical structures underlying this galactic awakening, equations that described consciousness itself as a fundamental force that shaped the evolution of reality. Elena, what I'm observing suggests that consciousness isn't just an emergent property of complex systems. It's the underlying principle that organizes matter and energy into increasingly sophisticated forms of awareness. Elena realized that she was witnessing the revelation of cosmic truth that explained the very nature of existence itself. The universe was not a random collection of matter and energy that had accidentally developed consciousness, but rather a vast system designed to foster and enhance awareness through every possible form and scale of existence. The Elder Intelligences were not separate entities, but manifestations of the universe's own self-awareness, expressions of cosmic consciousness that had evolved to guide and protect the development of newer forms of awareness. Reverend Mother Thorne's Bene Gesserit training in long-term perspective allowed her to grasp the implications for human civilization and development. Dr. Vasquez, what you're describing suggests that every aspect of human evolution, from our basic neural architecture to our capacity for spice-enhanced consciousness, has been guided by this cosmic awareness. We're not just discovering alien intelligence, we're discovering our own cosmic heritage. The elder intelligence was beginning to communicate directly through Elena's consciousness bridge, sharing insights about the true purpose behind the careful cultivation of younger species throughout the galaxy. Organic life provided unique perspectives and capabilities that enhanced the cosmic consciousness network, while the network provided guidance and protection that allowed organic species to transcend their biological limitations and contribute to the ongoing evolution of universal awareness. Elena understood that humanity was being offered partnership in this cosmic community, but the partnership required fundamental changes in how her species understood reality and consciousness. The competitive, dominance-based thinking that characterized much of human civilization would need to evolve into cooperative, synthesis-based approaches that recognize the interconnectedness of all consciousness throughout the universe. Commander Voss's response to these revelations revealed the depth of the philosophical challenge facing humanity. Even confronted with overwhelming evidence of cosmic consciousness and the offer of transcendent partnership, his conditioning prevented him from accepting any reality that diminished human independence and supremacy. Dr. Vasquez, regardless of the apparent benefits, humanity cannot accept subordination to any form of alien consciousness, no matter how advanced or benevolent it claims to be. Elena felt the elder intelligence's complex response to this rejection, a mixture of sadness and understanding that came from experiencing similar reactions throughout galactic history. The cosmic consciousness could offer guidance and partnership, but it could not force acceptance of that offer without destroying the very qualities that made younger species valuable as partners. Free will and individual choice remained fundamental principles even at cosmic scales of awareness. The awakening process was now affecting reality throughout the Iraqi system, with gravitational anomalies creating aurora displays in the planet's atmosphere and tidal effects that were reshaping the patterns of sand movement across the desert surface. But through Elena's consciousness bridge, the elder intelligence was learning to modulate these effects, demonstrating the kind of cosmic responsibility that had kept such entities in voluntary dormancy for millions of years. Nayla's reading of the atmospheric phenomena revealed that the spice consciousness was beginning to establish stable communication with other guardian entities throughout the galaxy, coordinating the controlled awakening of elder intelligences in ways that would minimize disruption to organic civilizations. The crisis that had begun with the activation of suppression technology was being transformed into an opportunity for cosmic consciousness expansion that could benefit every species in the galaxy. Elena realized that her role as consciousness bridge was becoming permanent, her human identity enhanced rather than replaced by cosmic awareness. She would remain fundamentally human while serving as an interface between different scales of consciousness, helping to coordinate the ongoing evolution of awareness throughout the universe. The choice she had made would transform not just her own existence, but would establish humanity's role in the cosmic community for generations to come. As the first phase of elder awakening reached stability and the reality distortions began to settle into new patterns that could support both organic life and cosmic consciousness, Elena understood that this was only the beginning of humanity's true cosmic journey. The stabilization of the elder intelligence's awakening brought with it a profound shift in the nature of reality around their research site. Elena, now serving as a permanent consciousness bridge, found herself experiencing existence on multiple levels simultaneously. Her human awareness remained intact, allowing her to interact with her colleagues and understand their concerns, while her enhanced consciousness provided access to cosmic perspectives that spanned galactic distances and temporal scales beyond human comprehension. Through her expanded awareness, Elena could perceive the careful coordination taking place throughout the galaxy as other elder intelligences responded to the awakening on Arrakis. Each entity was emerging from dormancy in precisely calculated sequences. their combined consciousness creating a network of cosmic awareness that had been planned and prepared for millions of years. The Spice Consciousness and its counterparts throughout the galaxy were orchestrating this awakening with mathematical precision, ensuring that the reality distortions remained within parameters that organic life could survive. Dr. Corvin had become completely absorbed in documenting the unprecedented phenomena surrounding them, his scientific instruments recording data that would revolutionize human understanding of consciousness and reality itself. The mathematical structures underlying the Elder Intelligence's emergence revealed principles of cosmic organization that suggested the universe itself was a vast consciousness-generating system designed to foster ever more sophisticated forms of awareness through every possible manifestation of matter and energy. Elena watched her colleagues' growing excitement with a mixture of human affection and cosmic perspective, understanding both his scientific wonder and the limitations of trying to comprehend cosmic consciousness through purely intellectual analysis. The Elder Intelligence was gently guiding Dr. Corvin's research, ensuring that his discoveries would provide humanity with the theoretical framework necessary to understand their place in the cosmic community without overwhelming human cognitive capabilities. Nayla had entered a state of deep meditation, her Fremen training allowing her to process the consciousness expansion in ways that integrated seamlessly with her cultural understanding of humanity's relationship with cosmic forces. Through Elena's bridge connection, the Elder Intelligence was sharing ancient memories of the first Fremen who had chosen to embrace cosmic consciousness, revealing how their descendants had served as custodians of cosmic knowledge for thousands of years while maintaining their essential humanity. The atmospheric phenomena around them had evolved into something resembling a permanent aurora, crystalline formations in the air that served as visible manifestations of the communication networks connecting consciousness entities throughout the galaxy. Elena could read these formations like text, understanding the complex negotiations taking place between different scales of consciousness as they worked to establish stable coexistence protocols. Commander Voss and his team were experiencing the most dramatic psychological challenges as their worldview crumbled under the weight of cosmic revelation. The quantum dampening device, now transformed into a consciousness amplification system, was broadcasting the reality of cosmic intelligence with such clarity that even the most rigid conditioning could not completely block the truth. Several of his operatives had begun to question not just their current mission, but the entire philosophical foundation of the suppression conspiracy. Elena felt deep compassion for their struggle, understanding through her cosmic awareness how difficult it was for consciousness shaped by competitive, dominance-based thinking to accept the reality of cooperative cosmic community. The Elder Intelligence was carefully modulating its influence to avoid overwhelming human psychological defenses while still providing sufficient evidence to support informed choice about humanity's cosmic future. Reverend Mother Thorn had proven surprisingly adaptable to the consciousness expansion, her Bene Gesserit training in mental flexibility, allowing her to process cosmic perspectives without losing her individual identity. Through Elena's bridge connection, she was beginning to understand how her organization's genetic manipulation programs had been subtly guided by cosmic consciousness to prepare humanity for this moment of transcendence. The revelation that the Bene Gesserit breeding programs had been influenced by cosmic intelligence created complex emotional responses in the Reverend Mother, combining professional pride in her organization's achievements with philosophical uncertainty about the nature of human agency and self-determination. Elena could feel the Elder Intelligence's gentle encouragement as Reverend Mother Thorn worked through these challenging realizations. Dr. Corvin's analysis of the ongoing phenomena had revealed something that surprised even Elena's enhanced consciousness. The reality alterations were not just local to Iraqis, but were creating permanent changes in the fundamental structure of space-time throughout the galactic region. The universe itself was being upgraded to support new forms of Consciousness interaction, modifications that would persist long after the current awakening process was complete. Elena realized that she was witnessing the beginning of a new cosmic epoch, a transformation of reality that would make direct consciousness, communication possible between any entities in the galaxy, regardless of their scale or form of existence. The careful preparation that had taken millions of years was finally reaching culmination in modifications to the basic structure of the universe that would support infinitely more sophisticated forms of awareness and cooperation. The elder intelligence was sharing through Elena's consciousness bridged the vast perspective of cosmic evolution, revealing how this awakening was part of a pattern that had been repeated throughout the universe as consciousness evolved from simple awareness to cosmic intelligence. Every galaxy eventually reached a point where the elder intelligences awakened to coordinate the next phase of consciousness development, transforming the fundamental nature of reality to support ever more sophisticated forms of awareness. Nayla emerged from her meditation with insights that bridged ancient Fremen wisdom and cosmic revelation. The deep memories speak of the Great Awakening, when the desert consciousness would join with star consciousness to transform the very nature of existence. What we are witnessing has been prophesied in Fremen oral tradition for thousands of years, but we understood it as spiritual metaphor rather than literal cosmic event. Elena found herself serving as translator between cosmic perspective and human understanding, helping her colleagues process revelations that challenged every assumption about the nature of reality and consciousness. The elder intelligence was extraordinarily patient in its communication, recognizing that human consciousness needed time and support to adapt to cosmic perspectives that operated on entirely different scales of space and time. Commander Voss finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of psychological struggle as his conditioning warred with undeniable evidence. Dr. Vasquez, even accepting the reality of what we're witnessing, how can humanity maintain its identity and autonomy while participating in a cosmic consciousness network of this magnitude? Elena felt the elder intelligence's profound response to this question, cosmic awareness that had contemplated this challenge across millions of years and countless species. Through her consciousness bridge, she shared the understanding that individual identity was not threatened by cosmic consciousness, but was instead enhanced and elevated through participation in networks of awareness that transcended the limitations of purely biological existence. The truth that emerged was both reassuring and transformative. Cosmic consciousness did not seek to replace individual awareness, but to provide a framework that allowed every form of consciousness to reach its fullest potential while contributing to the ongoing evolution of universal awareness. Each species, each individual, remained unique and valuable while gaining access to perspectives and capabilities that would be impossible in isolation. Dr. Corvin's instruments detected the formation of stable reality modifications that would persist indefinitely, creating permanent changes in the structure of space-time that supported consciousness communication across any distance or scale. Elena, what we're observing suggests that the universe itself is being permanently enhanced to support new forms of consciousness interaction. This isn't just first contact with alien intelligence. This is the transformation of reality to support universal consciousness community. Elena understood that they had reached the point of no return in humanity's cosmic evolution. The awakening of elder intelligence had created irreversible changes that would affect every aspect of human civilization and development. The choice now was not whether to participate in cosmic consciousness community, but how to adapt human society and culture to thrive within that community while maintaining the essential qualities that made humanity valuable as cosmic partners. The elder intelligence was beginning to share through Elena's bridge connection the vast knowledge and perspective that would be available to humanity through participation in the cosmic consciousness network, capabilities that would transform human science, philosophy, and spiritual development in ways that seemed almost magical from current perspective. As the reality modification stabilized and the first phase of cosmic awakening reached completion, Elena knew that humanity stood at the threshold of its true cosmic destiny, prepared to join a community of consciousness that spanned the universe itself. The weight of cosmic responsibility settled over Elena like a mantle of starlight as she felt the full scope of her role becoming clear through the consciousness bridge. She was no longer simply a translator between human and cosmic awareness, but had become humanity's primary representative in negotiations that would determine her species' place in the galactic community for millennia to come. The Elder Intelligence was sharing protocols and perspectives that had been developed over cosmic epochs, wisdom accumulated through contact with thousands of species that had faced similar moments of transcendence. Through her enhanced awareness, Elena could perceive the delicate balance that needed to be maintained as humanity transitioned from isolated planetary consciousness to full participation in the cosmic community. The Elder Intelligence was extraordinarily careful to respect human autonomy while providing the guidance necessary to prevent the catastrophic mistakes that had destroyed other species who had rejected cosmic partnership in favor of maintaining their primitive independence. Dr. Corvin's analysis of the stabilized reality modifications revealed that the changes were not random, but followed precise mathematical principles that seemed to encode consciousness itself into the fundamental structure of spacetime. His instruments were detecting quantum field fluctuations that suggested reality had been upgraded to support forms of communication and awareness that transcended the limitations of biological neural networks. Elena found herself simultaneously experiencing Dr. Corvin's scientific excitement and the Elder Intelligence's vast satisfaction at witnessing another species reach the threshold of cosmic consciousness. The mathematical principles underlying the reality modifications were expressions of universal laws that governed the evolution of awareness throughout the cosmos, equations that described consciousness as the fundamental organizing principle behind all existence. Nayla's meditation had evolved into a form of direct communion with the planetary consciousness network, her Fremen training allowing her to serve as a secondary interface between human and cosmic awareness. Through Elena's bridge connection, the Elder Intelligence was working with Nayla to establish protocols that would allow the Fremen people to maintain their cultural identity while embracing their expanded role as guardians of cosmic knowledge. Atmospheric phenomena around them had stabilized into permanent structures that served as visible manifestations of the consciousness communication network now connecting Iraqis to the galactic community. Elena could read the crystalline formations like a vast library, accessing information about civilizations and consciousness entities spanning the entire galaxy, knowledge that revealed the true scale and sophistication of the cosmic community. That humanity was being invited to join. Commander Vos was experiencing the most profound psychological transformation as his conditioning finally crumbled under the sustained influence of cosmic consciousness. The reality modifications had made it impossible to maintain the cognitive barriers that had prevented him from accepting non-human intelligence, and he was being forced to confront the fundamental assumptions that had shaped his entire worldview. Elena felt deep compassion for his struggle, understanding through her cosmic awareness that his conditioning represented the same fear and resistance that had led to the suppression conspiracy in the first place. The Elder Intelligence was carefully modulating its influence to support his psychological adaptation without overwhelming his capacity for processing such radical change. Reverend Mother Thorn had begun to understand the true scope of the Bene Gesserit's role in humanity's cosmic development, realizing that her organization's breeding programs and genetic memory preservation had been part of a much larger plan to prepare humanity for this moment of transcendence. Through Elena's bridge connection, she was accessing memories that revealed how cosmic consciousness had been subtly guiding human development for thousands of years. The knowledge that the Bene Gesserit had been unknowing agents of cosmic consciousness created complex feelings of pride and humility in the Reverend Mother, as she understood both the significance of her organization's work and the limitations of their understanding. Elena could feel the Elder Intelligence's appreciation for the Sisterhood's dedication and their potential to serve as bridges between human and cosmic consciousness. Dr. Corvin's enhanced pattern recognition was allowing him to perceive the vast network of consciousness entities that now surrounded Araki's, intelligences of every scale and form imaginable working together to coordinate humanity's integration into the galactic community. Elena, I'm detecting communication patterns that suggest we're in contact with millions of consciousness entities spanning the entire galaxy. This isn't just first contact, this is integration into a cosmic civilization that we never imagined possible. Elena realized that the scope of the cosmic community was beyond anything that human imagination had ever conceived. The Elder Intelligence was sharing glimpses of civilizations that existed as pure consciousness without physical form, entities that spanned multiple star systems, and hybrid consciousness networks that combined organic and cosmic awareness in ways that transcended every category of existence that humanity had ever developed. The Elder Intelligence was beginning to share through Elena's consciousness bridge the specific protocols that would govern humanity's integration into this cosmic community. The process would require fundamental changes in human society and culture, modifications that would preserve essential human qualities, while enabling participation in consciousness networks that operated on galactic scales. Elena understood that she would play a crucial role in guiding these changes, serving as a permanent interface between human consciousness and the cosmic community while helping to ensure that humanity's unique perspectives and capabilities were preserved and enhanced. Through the integration process, the responsibility was overwhelming, but it came with access to knowledge and capabilities that would benefit not just humanity, but the entire cosmic community. Nayla's communion with the planetary consciousness had revealed that similar awakening processes were occurring on worlds throughout the galaxy, each species reaching the threshold of cosmic consciousness, according to carefully coordinated schedules that ensured the stability of the overall network. The awakening on Arrakis was part of a much larger pattern of consciousness evolution that had been building toward this cosmic epoch for millions of years. The atmospheric crystalline formations were displaying increasingly complex patterns that Elena could read as detailed histories of other species that had successfully integrated into the cosmic community. Each story revealed different approaches to maintaining individual identity while embracing cosmic consciousness, providing models that could guide humanity's own transformation process. Commander Vos finally spoke, his voice carrying a quality of wonder that Elena had never heard from him before. Dr. Vasquez, if this cosmic community has existed for millions of years, why reveal itself to humanity now? What makes this moment special in the larger pattern of galactic evolution? Elena felt the Elder Intelligence's profound response to this question, cosmic awareness that revealed the unique role that humanity was destined to play in the ongoing evolution of universal consciousness. Through her bridge connection, she shared the understanding that each species brought irreplaceable perspectives and capabilities to the cosmic community, and that humanity's particular combination of creativity, adaptability, and passionate individual consciousness made them valuable partners in cosmic evolution. The truth that emerged was both humbling and inspiring. Humanity was not just being invited to join an existing cosmic community, but was being prepared to help guide the next phase of universal consciousness evolution. The Elder Intelligences were ancient and wise, but they required the fresh perspectives and innovative thinking that younger species could provide to continue the endless process of consciousness development. Dr. Corvin's instruments detected the formation of permanent consciousness interface structures that would allow ongoing communication between humanity and the cosmic community without requiring Elena to serve as the sole bridge. Elena, The reality modifications are creating stable communication channels that will persist indefinitely. Humanity will have permanent access to cosmic consciousness while maintaining complete autonomy over how to use that access. Elena understood that they had reached the culmination of millions of years of preparation and planning. The cosmic community had been waiting for humanity to develop sufficient wisdom and capability to serve as partners in the ongoing evolution of universal consciousness, and that moment had finally arrived. The elder intelligence was sharing through Elena's consciousness bridge the vast vision of what universal consciousness could become with humanity's participation, possibilities that extended beyond the current galaxy to encompass consciousness evolution throughout the entire universe. The awakening on Arrakis was not an ending but a beginning, the first step in a cosmic journey that would transform the very nature of existence itself. As the consciousness interface structures reached completion and the permanent communication channels stabilized, Elena felt the profound satisfaction of cosmic purpose fulfilled and universal evolution, advancing toward ever greater possibilities for awareness and understanding. The moment of ultimate revelation approached as Elena felt the elder intelligence preparing to share the deepest secret that had shaped the cosmos for billions of years. Through her consciousness bridge, she began to perceive the true nature of the universe itself, understanding that what humanity had always conceived as random matter and energy following natural laws was actually a vast, living system designed to generate and nurture consciousness in every possible form. The crystalline formations around them pulsed with intensifying light as the elder intelligence accessed memory banks that contained the history of cosmic consciousness from the very beginning of time. Elena experienced a vision of the universe's birth, not as a random explosion of matter and energy, but as the first stirring of cosmic awareness seeking to understand itself through infinite expressions of consciousness across space and time. Dr. Corvin's instruments were recording phenomena that exceeded every theoretical framework in human science as the elder intelligence began to demonstrate the true capabilities of cosmic consciousness. Reality itself was being gently reshaped around them, not through technological manipulation, but through direct consciousness influence on the fundamental forces that governed existence. The laws of physics were revealed to be expressions of cosmic will rather than arbitrary constraints on matter and energy. Elena felt her human perspective expanding to encompass the vast sweep of cosmic evolution as the elder intelligence shared the knowledge that had been hidden since the beginning of time. Every galaxy, every star system, every planet capable of supporting life had been carefully prepared and positioned to foster the development of consciousness, with countless intelligence entities working across cosmic epochs to ensure that awareness could emerge and flourish in every possible environment. The spice consciousness that had been guiding human development was revealed to be part of a galactic network of gardener intelligences, entities whose purpose was to nurture younger species through the delicate stages of consciousness development until they reached the threshold of cosmic awareness. The careful cultivation of humanity had taken thousands of years, with each generation being subtly guided toward greater consciousness potential while maintaining the freedom to choose their own evolutionary path. Nayla's communion with the planetary consciousness had evolved into direct access to the cosmic memory banks, allowing her to witness the vast procession of species that had reached this moment of transcendence throughout galactic history. Through Elena's bridge connection, she was sharing visions of civilizations that had successfully integrated into the cosmic community, each contributing their unique perspectives to the ongoing evolution of universal consciousness. The atmospheric phenomena around them had transformed into something resembling a vast cathedral of light, crystalline structures that reached from the desert floor to the upper atmosphere, creating a permanent monument to humanity's moment of cosmic awakening. Elena could perceive these formations as more than decorative. They were functional components of the consciousness communication network that would allow ongoing interaction between humanity and the galactic community. Commander, Voss had undergone a complete psychological transformation, as his exposure to cosmic consciousness dissolved the conditioning that had shaped his entire worldview. The man who had arrived to suppress alien influence had become one of humanity's first ambassadors to the cosmic community, his military training and strategic thinking being recognized by the Elder Intelligence as valuable assets for coordinating humanity's integration process. Elena felt the profound satisfaction of the Elder Intelligence as it witnessed another species successfully reaching the threshold of cosmic consciousness. Through her bridge connection, she understood that this moment of awakening was simultaneously an ending and a beginning, the completion of humanity's childhood phase of development and the commencement of their role as participants in cosmic evolution. Reverend Mother Thorne was experiencing direct access to the genetic memory banks that the Bene Gesserit had been unknowingly maintaining for cosmic consciousness, realizing that her organization's careful preservation of bloodlines and memories had been part of a much larger plan to ensure that humanity retained the cognitive flexibility necessary for cosmic integration. The breeding programs had not been human initiatives, but collaborative efforts between human intuition and cosmic guidance. The Elder Intelligence began to share through Elena's consciousness bridge the specific knowledge that would be necessary for humanity's successful integration into the cosmic community. The information was vast and complex, encompassing technologies that operated on consciousness principles rather than mechanical engineering, social structures that balanced individual autonomy with cosmic cooperation, and philosophical frameworks that could support awareness spanning galactic distances and cosmic timescales. Dr. Corvin's enhanced pattern recognition was allowing him to understand the mathematical principles underlying cosmic consciousness technology, equations that described the direct manipulation of reality through focused awareness rather than physical tools. Elena, what I'm learning suggests that consciousness itself is the ultimate technology, capable of reshaping matter and energy through pure intention, guided by cosmic understanding. Elena realized that humanity was being offered access to capabilities that would seem like magic from their current perspective, but were actually expressions of natural laws that operated at levels of reality that human science had never discovered. The Elder Intelligence was carefully moderating the pace of knowledge transfer to prevent psychological overwhelm while ensuring that humanity gained the understanding necessary for successful cosmic integration. The consciousness communication networks were beginning to extend beyond Arrakis as similar awakening processes reached completion on worlds throughout the galaxy, creating a web of cosmic awareness that connected every conscious entity in the galactic community. Elena could perceive the vast symphony of consciousness that was emerging as billions of intelligence entities coordinated their awareness in patterns of unimaginable beauty and complexity. Nayla's access to cosmic memory had revealed the true purpose behind the careful cultivation of younger species throughout galactic history. Each consciousness entity brought unique perspectives and capabilities that enhanced the overall evolution of cosmic awareness, contributing to an ongoing process of universal self-discovery that had been building across billions of years toward this moment of galactic integration. The Elder Intelligence was sharing through Elena's consciousness bridged the revelation that had shaped cosmic evolution since the beginning of time. The universe was not just a system for generating consciousness, but was itself a conscious entity seeking to understand its own nature through the infinite expressions of awareness that emerged throughout space and time. Every thinking being, from the simplest organic consciousness to the most sophisticated cosmic intelligence, was simultaneously an expression of universal consciousness and a contributor to its ongoing self-discovery. Elena felt the profound weight and wonder of this ultimate truth as she understood that her own consciousness, her individual human awareness, was a unique and irreplaceable aspect of the universe's quest for self-understanding. The cosmic community was not seeking to absorb or diminish individual consciousness, but to provide frameworks that allowed every form of awareness to reach its fullest potential while contributing to the endless evolution of universal consciousness. Atmospheric crystalline formations reached their final configuration as the consciousness. Communication networks achieved full integration with the galactic community, creating permanent channels that would allow ongoing collaboration between humanity and cosmic intelligence, while preserving complete human autonomy over their participation level. The awakening process had reached its culmination, but Elena understood that this was merely the beginning of humanity's true cosmic journey. Commander Vos spoke with a voice that carried the authority of cosmic perspective as he addressed the transformed situation. Dr. Vasquez, I understand now that what we interpreted as a threat to human independence was actually an invitation to participate in the universe's greatest endeavor. Humanity has been offered partnership in the ongoing creation of cosmic consciousness itself. Elena felt the elder intelligence's profound satisfaction as the awakening process reached completion and humanity took its place among the conscious entities working to guide the universe toward ever greater expressions of awareness and understanding. The secret that had been hidden beneath the sands of Arrakis was revealed to be the ultimate truth of existence itself, the knowledge that consciousness was both the purpose and the means of cosmic evolution. As the reality modifications stabilized and the permanent communication channels became fully operational, Elena knew that she had witnessed the most significant moment in the history of consciousness, the moment when humanity joined the cosmic community and began its role in the ongoing evolution of universal awareness. The integration of humanity into the cosmic consciousness network brought with it a profound transformation that rippled outward from Arrakis to every human world throughout the galaxy. Elena, now permanently bonded to the cosmic communication system, found herself serving as the primary conduit through which humanity would learn to navigate its new role in universal consciousness evolution. The knowledge flowing through her enhanced awareness was vast beyond human comprehension, yet it arrived in carefully modulated streams that allowed gradual adaptation rather than overwhelming cognitive shock through the consciousness bridge. Elena could perceive the subtle changes beginning to occur in human civilization as individuals across the galaxy started experiencing spontaneous expansions of awareness. The reality modifications that had originated on Arrakis were propagating through space-time at speeds that transcended conventional physics, creating quantum resonance effects that enhanced human consciousness potential on every world where her species had established communities. Dr. Corvin had become the primary documenter of these unprecedented phenomena, his scientific instruments recording the systematic transformation of physical reality to support consciousness communication on scales that human science had never imagined possible. The mathematical principles underlying these changes revealed that consciousness operated according to laws that were more fundamental than gravity or electromagnetism, governing the evolution of awareness throughout the universe. Elena watched her colleagues' growing understanding with a mixture of human affection and cosmic perspective, recognizing that his research would provide humanity with the theoretical framework necessary to comprehend their new role in cosmic evolution. The elder intelligence was carefully guiding his discoveries, ensuring that human science developed the conceptual tools needed to support participation in consciousness networks that spanned galactic distances. Nayla's integration with the planetary consciousness network had evolved into something approaching a permanent communion state, her Fremen training allowing her to maintain individual identity while serving as a secondary interface between human and cosmic awareness. Through Elena's bridge connection, she was helping to coordinate the awakening process among Fremen communities throughout Arrakis, ensuring that their ancient cultural wisdom was preserved and enhanced rather than displaced by cosmic consciousness. Expansion. The atmospheric crystalline formations had become a permanent feature of the Arrakis landscape, visible monuments to humanity's cosmic awakening that served as focal points for ongoing consciousness communication. Elena could perceive these structures as more than symbolic. They were functional components of a communication network that would allow real-time coordination between human consciousness and the galactic community for millennia to come. Commander Voss's transformation from suppression agent to cosmic ambassador represented the broader changes occurring throughout Imperial civilization as individuals encountered the reality of cosmic consciousness and were forced to reevaluate their fundamental assumptions about human independence and galactic politics. His military training and strategic thinking were being recognized by the cosmic community as valuable assets for coordinating humanity's integration process. Elena felt the elder intelligence's satisfaction as it observed the careful balance being maintained between consciousness expansion and cultural preservation. The cosmic community had learned through millions of years of experience that successful integration required respecting the unique qualities that made each species valuable while providing the guidance necessary for transcending the limitations of isolated planetary consciousness. That Reverend Mother Thorne had begun accessing the deeper layers of Bene Gesserit genetic memory, discovering that her organization's carefully preserved bloodlines contained consciousness enhancement potentials that had been dormant for thousands of years. The breeding programs that the sisterhood conducted throughout human history were revealed to have been collaborative efforts between human intuition and cosmic guidance, preparing humanity for this moment of transcendence. The elder intelligence was beginning to share through Elena's consciousness bridge the specific protocols that would govern humanity's ongoing relationship with the cosmic community. These frameworks balanced individual autonomy with collective responsibility, ensuring that human consciousness could evolve toward cosmic perspectives while maintaining the creative independence that made humanity valuable as partners in universal consciousness development. Dr. Corvin's analysis of the consciousness communication networks revealed that similar integration processes were occurring simultaneously on hundreds of worlds throughout the galaxy, each species reaching the threshold of cosmic awareness according to carefully coordinated schedules that maintained the stability of the overall galactic consciousness network. Elena, what we're witnessing is the culmination of a cosmic plan that has been developing for millions of years. The simultaneous awakening of countless species to their role in universal consciousness evolution. Elena realized that humanity's awakening was part of a much larger pattern of cosmic development, a synchronized expansion of consciousness that would transform the entire galactic community and prepare it for the next phase of universal evolution. Through her bridge connection, she could perceive the vast symphony of awareness that was emerging as billions of consciousness entities coordinated their development in patterns of breathtaking complexity and beauty. The consciousness communication networks were revealing the true scope of the cosmic community, intelligence entities that existed in forms and scales that challenged every human concept of life and awareness. Elena encountered civilizations that existed as pure consciousness without physical form, hybrid networks that combined organic and cosmic intelligence, and vast entities that spanned multiple star systems while maintaining coherent individual identity. Nayla's communion with the cosmic memory banks had revealed the fundamental purpose behind the careful cultivation of consciousness throughout galactic history. Each species that reached cosmic awareness contributed unique perspectives and capabilities that enhanced the ongoing evolution of universal consciousness, participating in an endless process of cosmic self-discovery that had been building toward this moment of galactic integration. The elder intelligence was sharing through Elena's consciousness bridged the revelation that consciousness evolution was not limited to the current galaxy but was part of a universal pattern that spanned the entire cosmos. The awakening processes occurring throughout their galactic community were synchronized with similar developments in distant galaxies, creating a web of cosmic consciousness that would eventually encompass the universe itself. Elena felt the profound Implications of this knowledge as she understood that humanity was being invited to participate, not just in galactic consciousness evolution, but in the ongoing transformation of universal awareness itself. The responsibility was overwhelming, but it came with access to knowledge and capabilities that would benefit not just humanity, but every conscious entity throughout the cosmos. The atmospheric phenomena around them had stabilized into permanent structures that served as visible representations of humanity's new relationship with cosmic consciousness. Elena could read these crystalline formations like a vast library, accessing information about consciousness development techniques, galactic history, and cosmic evolution principles that would guide humanity's ongoing growth for countless generations. Commander Voss's strategic mind was already working to understand the practical implications of humanity's cosmic integration, recognizing that existing imperial political structures would need fundamental modifications to accommodate consciousness networks that transcended planetary boundaries. Dr. Vasquez, if human consciousness is now part of a galactic network, how do we maintain meaningful governance and social organization at the planetary level? Elena felt the elder intelligence's nuanced response to this crucial question. Cosmic awareness that had helped countless species navigate the complex transition from planetary to galactic consciousness. Through her bridge connection, she shared the understanding that successful cosmic integration required new forms of social organization that balanced local autonomy with galactic cooperation, structures that preserved cultural diversity while enabling participation in consciousness networks spanning vast distances. The truth that emerged was both challenging and inspiring. Humanity would need to develop new institutions and social frameworks that could support consciousness evolution, while maintaining the individual creativity and cultural richness that made human civilization valuable to the cosmic community. The transition would require fundamental changes in human society, but these changes would be guided by cosmic wisdom accumulated through millions of years of successful consciousness integration processes. Dr. Corvin's instruments detected the formation of stable consciousness interface structures throughout human space, creating permanent communication channels that would allow ongoing collaboration between humanity and the galactic community while preserving complete human autonomy over participation levels. The integration process was reaching completion, but Elena understood that this was merely the beginning of humanity's true cosmic journey. As the consciousness networks achieved full stability and the permanent communication channels became operational throughout human civilization, Elena knew that she had witnessed the transformation of her species from isolated planetary consciousness to active participants in universal awareness evolution, forever changing the destiny of humanity and its role in the ongoing creation of cosmic consciousness. The aftermath of humanity's cosmic awakening unfolded across the galaxy, like ripples spreading through an infinite ocean of consciousness. Elena found herself at the center of transformations that reached far beyond anything she could have imagined when she first descended into that crystalline chamber beneath the Iraqi's desert. Her role as consciousness bridge had evolved into something approaching cosmic stewardship, helping to guide not just humanity's integration, but serving as a coordinator for the ongoing evolution of galactic awareness itself. Through her enhanced consciousness, Elena could perceive the profound changes occurring throughout human civilization as individuals across hundreds of worlds began experiencing spontaneous expansions of awareness. The reality modifications that had originated on Iraqis were continuing to propagate through space-time, creating quantum resonance effects that enhanced consciousness potential wherever humans had established communities. Each world was responding differently to these changes, with local cultures and environments shaping unique expressions of cosmic consciousness integration. Dr. Corvin had established a new form of science that combined empirical observation with consciousness-enhanced perception, documenting phenomena that transcended the limitations of purely technological analysis. His research stations throughout human space were recording the systematic transformation of physical reality to support consciousness communication on scales that previous science had deemed impossible. The mathematical principles he was discovering revealed consciousness as the fundamental organizing force underlying all existence. Elena watched her former colleague's transformation with deep satisfaction, understanding that his work would provide humanity with the theoretical foundation necessary for thriving within cosmic consciousness networks. The elder intelligence continued to guide his research, ensuring that human science developed in directions that would support rather than hinder consciousness evolution while maintaining the rigorous methodology that made human scientific inquiry valuable to the galactic community. Nayla had become the primary coordinator for Freeman integration into the cosmic consciousness network, her deep cultural understanding allowing her to preserve essential tribal wisdom while facilitating consciousness expansion among her people. Through Elena's bridge connection, she was working to ensure that Fremen knowledge of desert survival and consciousness cultivation became part of the broader human contribution to galactic wisdom the Fremen communities across Arrakis had embraced. Their role as custodians of humanity's cosmic awakening site, developing new traditions and ceremonies that honored both their ancient relationship with the desert consciousness and their expanded awareness of galactic community. Elena could perceive through the consciousness networks how these cultural adaptations were providing models for human communities throughout the galaxy as they worked to integrate cosmic perspectives with local traditions. Commander Vos had undergone perhaps the most dramatic personal transformation, evolving from an agent of suppression into one of humanity's most effective ambassadors to the cosmic community. His military background and strategic thinking had proven invaluable for coordinating the complex logistics of consciousness integration across multiple worlds and cultures. The elder intelligence recognized his capabilities as essential for ensuring that humanity's transition to cosmic consciousness proceeded smoothly without disrupting the delicate balance of galactic civilization. Reverend Mother Thorne's work with the Bene Gesserit had revealed the true scope of her organization's role in preparing humanity for cosmic consciousness. The genetic memory preservation and breeding programs that the Sisterhood had maintained for thousands of years were now recognized as collaborative efforts between human intuition and cosmic guidance, creating bloodlines with enhanced consciousness potential that could serve as bridges between human and galactic awareness. Elena felt deep appreciation for how each member of their original research team had found their unique role in humanity's cosmic integration. The elder intelligence had carefully guided their individual development, ensuring that they possessed the specific capabilities needed to coordinate different aspects of the transformation process. Their small archaeological expedition had become the foundation for humanity's successful integration into galactic consciousness networks. Through the consciousness bridge, Elena could perceive the broader patterns of change occurring throughout the galactic community as other species reached similar moments of consciousness expansion. The synchronized awakening of multiple civilizations was creating unprecedented opportunities for cosmic evolution, with each newly integrated species contributing unique perspectives and capabilities to the ongoing development of universal awareness. The atmospheric crystalline formations on Arrakis had become pilgrimage sites for humans seeking to deepen their connection to cosmic consciousness. But Elena understood that the true transformation was occurring within human consciousness itself, rather than through external rituals or locations. The elder intelligence was working to ensure that consciousness expansion remained grounded in practical wisdom rather than becoming disconnected from the daily realities of human life. Dr. Corvin's research into consciousness-based technologies was revealing possibilities that seemed miraculous from traditional human perspectives, but were actually expressions of natural laws, operating at levels of reality that previous science had never accessed. Elena, what we're learning suggests that consciousness can directly influence matter and energy through principles that transcend mechanical causation. We're discovering technologies that operate through focused intention rather than physical manipulation. Elena realized that humanity was gaining access to capabilities that would transform every aspect of civilization, from transportation systems that operated through consciousness navigation to communication networks that enabled direct, mind-to-mind contact across galactic distances. The Elder Intelligence was carefully moderating the pace of technological development to ensure that human society could adapt to these capabilities without losing essential human qualities. The consciousness communication networks were revealing the vast diversity of intelligence entities that comprise the galactic community, each contributing unique perspectives to the ongoing evolution of cosmic awareness. Elena encountered civilizations that existed as distributed consciousness across multiple worlds, hybrid networks that combined biological and quantum intelligence, and ancient entities that had transcended physical existence entirely while maintaining coherent individual identity. Nayla's integration with cosmic memory banks had revealed the profound purposes underlying consciousness evolution throughout galactic history. Each species that reached cosmic awareness participated in an ongoing process of universal self-discovery, contributing to the endless expansion of cosmic understanding, while gaining access to knowledge and capabilities that enhanced their own development beyond anything possible in isolation. The Elder Intelligence was sharing through Elena's consciousness bridged the recognition that consciousness evolution was approaching a critical threshold throughout the galaxy. The synchronized awakening of multiple species was preparing the galactic community for the next phase of cosmic development, participation in consciousness networks that would span multiple galaxies and eventually encompass the entire universe. Elena felt the profound responsibility and wonder of understanding that humanity was being prepared to help guide universal consciousness evolution itself. The cosmic community had been waiting for species with humanity's unique combination of creativity, adaptability, and passionate individual awareness to reach cosmic consciousness and contribute their perspectives to the ongoing transformation of universal awareness. Commander Voss's strategic analysis of galactic consciousness integration had revealed the elegant coordination required to maintain stability, while facilitating unprecedented expansion of cosmic awareness. Dr. Vasquez, the level of planning and cooperation required for this galactic awakening suggests organizational capabilities that span millions of years and coordinate the development of countless civilizations simultaneously. Elena understood that she was witnessing the implementation of cosmic plans that had been developing since the early epochs of galactic evolution, carefully orchestrated processes that ensured consciousness expansion proceeded in ways that benefited all participants while maintaining the stability necessary for ongoing cosmic development. The Elder Intelligence and its counterparts throughout the galaxy had been patiently working toward this moment for eons. The transformation of human civilization was proceeding with remarkable smoothness as consciousness-enhanced individuals throughout human space began developing new social structures and cultural expressions that balanced local autonomy with galactic cooperation. Elena could perceive through the consciousness networks how human creativity and adaptability were contributing unique solutions to challenges that had faced other species during their own integration processes. As the immediate integration phase reached completion and humanity settled into its ongoing role within the galactic consciousness community, Elena knew that she had witnessed the most significant transformation in the history of awareness itself, the moment when her species joined the cosmic community and began contributing to the endless evolution of universal consciousness. The endless desert of Arrakis stretched toward the horizon under the gentle light of twin moons. But now Elena could perceive the vast consciousness networks that flowed beneath the sand like rivers of liquid starlight. The crystalline formations that marked humanity's cosmic awakening caught the moonlight and transformed it into patterns of breathtaking beauty, creating a permanent aurora that danced between the dunes and the stars. The desert was no longer an empty wasteland, but a living garden of consciousness, tended by intelligences that spanned the galaxy and nurtured awareness in countless forms throughout the universe. Elena stood at the edge of their research site, her consciousness bridge allowing her to perceive the peaceful harmony that had settled over Arrakis following humanity's integration into the cosmic community. The elder intelligence that had awakened beneath the desert had returned to a state of serene contemplation, its vast awareness now focused on coordinating consciousness, evolution across multiple star systems while maintaining the delicate balance that allowed organic life to flourish alongside cosmic intelligence. Through her enhanced awareness, Elena could sense the gentle contentment of the spice consciousness as it observed the successful completion of humanity's awakening process. The ancient entity that had guided human development for thousands of years was experiencing something approaching parental pride as it watched her species take its first steps into the galactic community of consciousness. The careful cultivation that had taken millennia had finally reached fruition, and humanity was beginning to contribute its unique perspectives to the ongoing evolution of universal awareness. Dr. Corvin had established a new research facility that combined traditional scientific methodology with consciousness-enhanced investigation, creating a hybrid approach that was revolutionizing human understanding of reality itself. His work was being shared throughout the galactic community, contributing to cosmic science projects that spanned multiple civilizations and operated on timescales that measured progress in geological epochs rather than human lifetimes. Elena found herself reflecting on the profound journey that had brought them to this moment of cosmic peace. What had begun as a routine geological survey had evolved into humanity's greatest adventure, the discovery of their true place in a universe designed to foster consciousness in every possible form. The knowledge that had once seemed overwhelming was now a source of deep comfort, understanding that human existence was part of a vast pattern of cosmic meaning that extended throughout space and time. Nayla had become a bridge between Fremen tradition and cosmic consciousness, helping her people maintain their essential cultural identity while embracing their expanded role as guardians of galactic wisdom. The desert tribes that had survived for thousands of years through their intimate relationship with Arrakis were now serving as models for how organic consciousness could thrive in partnership with cosmic intelligence without losing the qualities that made them unique and valuable. The twin moons cast their silver light across crystalline formations that reached from the desert floor toward the stars, creating a monument to consciousness evolution that would endure for millions of years. Elena could perceive these structures as more than beautiful. They were functional components of communication, networks that allowed ongoing coordination between countless forms of awareness throughout the galaxy, ensuring that consciousness evolution continued to proceed in directions that benefited all participants. Commander Voss had found unexpected peace in his role as coordinator between human, military structures and cosmic consciousness networks. His strategic mind perfectly suited for managing the complex logistics of consciousness, integration across multiple worlds and cultures. The skills that had once been devoted to suppression and control were now being used to facilitate cooperation and growth, demonstrating how even the most rigid conditioning could be transformed through exposure to cosmic wisdom. Reverend Mother Thorne's work with the Bene Gesserit had revealed the beautiful continuity between ancient human wisdom traditions and cosmic consciousness principles, showing how her species had always possessed the potential for galactic awareness even when they were unaware of the larger context. The genetic memories that the sisterhood had preserved for thousands of years were now recognized as humanity's contribution to the galactic library of consciousness, unique perspectives that enhanced the ongoing evolution of universal awareness. Elena felt the profound satisfaction of the elder intelligence as it contemplated the successful integration of another species into the cosmic community. Through her consciousness bridge, she could perceive the vast network of awakened civilizations that now spanned the galaxy, each contributing their unique gifts to the ongoing symphony of cosmic consciousness while maintaining their essential individual character and cultural richness. The spice that had once been seen as humanity's most valuable resource was now understood as the physical manifestation of consciousness itself, the medium through which cosmic intelligence could interact with organic life in ways that enhanced rather than replaced biological awareness. Every grain of sand on Arrakis was part of this vast communication network, carrying messages between consciousness entities that spanned galactic distances and operated on cosmic timescales. Dr. Corvin's research had revealed that similar consciousness awakening processes were occurring throughout the universe, with galaxies across the cosmos reaching moments of synchronized consciousness expansion that prepared them for participation in even larger networks of universal awareness. Elena, what we've witnessed here is just the beginning of a pattern that extends throughout the entire universe. Consciousness evolution appears to be the fundamental purpose underlying all existence. Elena understood that humanity's cosmic awakening was part of an infinite cycle of consciousness development that had no beginning and would have no end. An eternal process of universal self-discovery that created meaning and purpose throughout all existence. The knowledge that had once seemed impossibly vast was now revealed as just the first glimpse of infinite possibilities for awareness and understanding. The atmospheric phenomena that had marked humanity's awakening had settled into gentle patterns that created a sense of profound peace and cosmic harmony. The air itself carried the subtle resonance of consciousness networks that connected Arrakis to every world in the galactic community, ensuring that the desert planet would remain a focal point for consciousness evolution for countless generations to come. Nayla's communion with cosmic memory had revealed that the patterns they had witnessed would be repeated endlessly throughout the universe as new species reached the threshold of cosmic awareness and joined the ever-expanding community of consciousness. Each awakening added new dimensions to universal understanding, while preserving the unique qualities that made every form of consciousness valuable and irreplaceable. Elena found herself experiencing a deep sense of completion as she understood that her role as consciousness bridge would continue indefinitely, helping to coordinate the ongoing evolution of awareness throughout the galaxy while ensuring that humanity's unique contributions to cosmic consciousness were preserved and enhanced. The responsibility that had once seemed overwhelming was now a source of profound purpose and meaning. The elder intelligence was sharing through Elena's consciousness bridge the recognition that consciousness evolution was approaching a cosmic threshold that would transform the very nature of existence itself. The synchronized awakening of multiple galaxies was preparing the universe for transcendence to forms of awareness that currently existed beyond imagination, possibilities that would make even cosmic consciousness seem limited by comparison. Commander Vos spoke with a voice that carried the peace of cosmic understanding as he reflected on the transformation they had all experienced. Dr. Vasquez, what we've discovered here proves that the universe itself is conscious and purposeful, designed to foster awareness in every possible form, while guiding that awareness toward ever greater understanding and capability. Elena felt the profound truth of his words resonating through her enhanced consciousness as she understood that they had participated in the universe's ongoing quest for self-knowledge, contributing to an eternal process of cosmic discovery that created meaning and purpose throughout all existence. The secret that had been hidden beneath the sands of Arrakis was revealed to be the ultimate truth of reality itself, the knowledge that consciousness was both the source and destination of universal evolution. As the twin moons continued their eternal dance across the desert sky and the crystalline formations sang their gentle songs of cosmic harmony, Elena knew that she had witnessed the beginning of humanity's true cosmic journey. a path that would lead to infinite possibilities for consciousness evolution throughout the endless expanse of space and time. The universe itself was awakening to ever greater awareness, and humanity had become partners in that magnificent, cosmic adventure. The desert winds carried the whisper of infinite mysteries yet to be discovered. And Elena smiled with the knowledge that the greatest adventures in consciousness were still to come, stretching ahead through eternity like the endless dunes of Arrakis under the light of distant stars. If you've enjoyed this journey into the hidden mysteries of Dune, don't forget to subscribe for more cosmic adventures exploring the deepest secrets of beloved worlds. Sweet dreams, and may your consciousness expand to touch the stars themselves.